Hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome to another episode of Heavy Metallurgy. It's Friday. We hope you've had a great week. I'm Marty. Good to see you. To my left would be the best co-host on the internet, Alan. How are you?
Is it left or right? That's a
This
joke
is
from Marty and
left.
George.
This is my left.
We're doing okay, Marty. Glad you're doing all right. Glad we got a new guest here. Excited to have him join us for the first time.
Yes, George G from George G's Room of Rock. Welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us. Good to see you.
Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it. Well, I was really surprised too, actually.
Also, George is doing some sub-ins on the Metal Roundtable over there with Scott Waters, Carcass John, and Rob. He hasn't been on in a while.
Yeah,
Rob?
Kevin and Steve.
Oh yeah. So go check. They're every Wednesday and late afternoon, I guess it is. But
Yeah, every Tuesday at it's 6 Eastern time here. I don't know what time he does it there.
Right on.
Yeah. I also do a show with my friend Ron on GTR Rock Rum and Tim. I do that every Sunday on his channel. So I want to give him a plug because we have a good time doing it.
Oh, good deal.
Yep.
So how long have you been doing the channel, and what do you folk, for those that are not familiar with you, and the link to George's channel is of course in the description, but what do you do over there at George G's Room of Rock?
Well, typically it's what everyone does, do collection updates and album rankings, and I think of some quirky stuff to make it a little bit different. And I actually this is actually yesterday is my third year anniversary of the channel. So
Wow. Yep.
So that kind of went by really fast, and it's kind of crazy. And I pretty much just show CDs. I do buy some records, but usually it's for the wall. So we'll go buy. My wife likes to go antiquing, so we go to stores and estate sales. So they never have any records there. They're usually like polka stuff or classical. They don't usually have anything metal. They're not gonna have, no one's gonna have any Maiden in their collection to put on the wall. But that's usually what I talk about, stuff like that. Just the normal stuff everyone else does, but trying to make it a little different ideas just to make it a little more interesting.
Yeah, I think you do a really good job of making your videos entertaining. They're always fun ones to watch.
Thank you.
My question is, how do you get out of the era that we came out of without collecting vinyl? How is this possible? How did you land?
Well, I did collect vinyl. I used to collect vinyl when I was and I started, and then the CDs came along. I started just buying them, and then when the vinyl came back in, I was like, I could get more CDs for the price of the vinyls.
Nope, that's a
good point. I don't have the room. This is a small little room I'm in. You can't tell. It is a tiny room. So if I got records, it would be like I wouldn't have half the collection I have.
Yeah.
But now it's getting hard to find the CDs because now they're not as popular, but they're getting a little more popular. But still, it's not going to be like it was. So my wife tells me you should get a record player, and I'm like, you're complaining I got CDs coming in the house in the package. You want me to get records too now? Where am I going to put them?
Sounds like a green light to me. Don't question, just do.
Yeah, well, but yeah, so that's basically what I do. So
right on. Well, it's a good channel, like Alan said, very entertaining, and your perspective is great. And of course, you've got decades of rock and metal knowledge, so it's great to have you on finally. And and we always leave it up to the guests to see first if they have any ideas for a topic, and George actually had a great one we've never done before. And what are we doing, George? What are we doing tonight?
Oh, we're doing third album, so 3 times a charm, or maybe it's not a charm, depending on the band and the album. Yeah, well, could be that. It depends on the album, how well the first 2 albums were. They were really good, and the third one match up to it, or maybe it surpassed it, or maybe it's just who knows. Depending on your perspective, people have different ideas about certain albums, so you never know. And no one's opinion is wrong.
True.
Yeah, it's a good point, George. The third album's a pretty important one, and it can go really good or really bad in a lot of cases. Because by this point, most bands have completely used up any songs they had written, while they were up and coming.
Yes.
They put all the best stuff probably on the first album, but a lot of bands, have other tracks, ready for the second album already. So maybe the second one's not that hard to put together, but with the third one, it's kind of like, you got to start with a blank slate, and sometimes that works out and sometimes it doesn't.
And really, like you said, third album, that's a really, really good indicator if a band has got the secret sauce it takes to maybe go a little bit longer.
Mhm.
Some bands really scrape and struggle to get to 3, and when they do, they're out. They're out of ideas. But I tried to pick stuff that it's amazing how many third albums we have covered, whether it's on the album club or just showing just as a favorite. There's so many I'm not going to show tonight. So it was kind of hard picking stuff that I don't talk about all the time. But a lot of these are really strong releases, more or less. And you can tell because a lot of the bands are still around today. So at third album 3, they're still growing artistically, and their fan base is coming with them. Then chances are they're going to go longer than 10, 15 years.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I was kind of surprised too, going through looking for stuff. There were several third albums I thought of. So I was like, okay, here's a band, third album. And I checked, it's like, oh, wait, I actually don't have their third album. So it seems in a lot of cases, the third album for different acts, something wonky happened. And it's just like, I don't like it as much as maybe the first two. Because for a lot of bands, it's like, I've got numbers 1, 2, and if they kept going, numbers 4 and 5. But I skipped number 3 in a lot of cases, which is random, but there was a little bit of a pattern to it.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm talking in the chat here.
Oh yeah, no, lots of new folks in the chat. So yeah, welcome aboard. Glad to see folks, and hello to all the regulars who have already hopped in as well. Yep.
Oh, before we move on to, we put up an review Alan did today of Outrust.
Mm-hmm.
Go check that out. Really good atmospheric black metal from Brazil. Very, very cool release. Alan covered. More reviews next week. Going to be shooting some this weekend, finally. So, but yeah, I've got about 30 picks here. I don't know what you guys came up with. I figured there'd be some overlap, so we might as well get rolling here unless someone else has something to say about third albums before we go.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Let's start with you, George. Go for it.
All right. Well, I got to figure I sort of with a bang. For one that people would probably figured you put on there was Master of Puppets.
For sure. Yep.
Definitely an important album for the band. Definitely put them on the map. I mean, it wasn't like the Black Album did, but still, for considering the first 2 albums were really good. It's really not my favorite album, believe it or not. It's like I love Kill 'Em All better than all of them, believe it or not. But this one just is a very important album. I mean, they still play Master of Puppets all the time, and it's on Sirius Radio. They play at every concert pretty much. So
it was on Stranger Things.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
That's it. That kind of gave it new life too, definitely. But
yeah,
definitely, I thought it was spectacular album. It's actually the first album I got, but from Metallica. It's actually the one that's hanging on the wall back there. It's actually the original one I had. So I figured that was first one to get out of the way because it's a monumental album for the band. So.
Oh yeah,
agreed.
Yeah, a huge one. They had big tours associated with that and stuff. So yeah, kind of I think for a lot of older fans, it's kind of the band at their peak too.
Got me typing again. Yeah, great pick. Was in my stack too. That's why I picked 30 because I knew there'd be some double dip in here. All right, Alan.
All right, so let's see. I'll start with this one. St. Vitus, Born Too Late, 1986. Third album for them. And there's a lot of bands I noticed that around album number 3, they had to deal with an important lineup change. That, some key member or members, had left maybe between albums 2 and 3. And this would be one of those. Vitus always had an incredibly stable lineup, except the vocalist. And they kind of kept, rotating a couple of guys back and forth a few times. This was the band's first album without Scott Riegers and their first album with Wino. Wino had relocated from the East Coast. The Obsessed was on hold. And yeah, I have no idea, how he ended up hooking up with Vitus, but there he was. And, the band kind of kept their overall general sound. Wino has a very different delivery than Riegers, but they're both very good for this style of music. I think for a lot of folks, this is the definitive St. Vitus album. It's a really good album. It's not my personal favorite by the band, but there's nothing wrong with it. It's just that I like a couple of the albums even better. But yeah, it showcases. I'll have some more examples later where you get to album number 3, there's a personnel change. In this case, it worked out just fine. Some folks prefer the Wino era. Some folks prefer the Riegers era. But again, I think both of them worked out really, really well. So it didn't hurt the band any. It just meant, kind of a little bit of a change in sound vocally. But yeah, cool album. And the third out of, I think there's 9 Vitus albums. So pretty early still for their career. They made a good long run of it after that one.
Right on.
And yes, James, it is. I've never understood the choices for this cover. It is very, very pink, and it has just this little tiny piece of artwork in the center. I've always wondered if it was like a Spinal Tap issue where they gave somebody instructions and they misread the units. It's like, you said you wanted a stained glass window that was like 2 centimeters tall, right? Right? It is a weird cover choice.
Yeah, it could be a total misprint from the plant. Who knows?
I mean, SST was pretty limited budget kind of label. Did a lot of good stuff, but they never had a big operating budget. So maybe that was all the art they could afford. I don't know.
All right.
Anyway,
well,
Marty,
George,
what you got?
George showed Metallica, so I figured I would follow up with this. So Far, So Good, So What by Megadeth. And I've hated this record since it came out. And I said, today is the day I'm going to circle back around. I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to listen to it. I listened to it twice throughout my day doing things I'm doing. And I still largely side with the fact that I hate this record. I do like In My Darkest Hour. There's a handful of songs, handful of riffs on here that are really good. But, for album in the third placeholder, you've got So Far So Good So What, and also Metallica's Master of Puppets, which Mustaine also has a few riffs on as well, much to his ultimate chagrin, although still reaping the royalty payments from that. So
he's cashing the checks.
He's cashing those checks. Yeah. In fact, I saw an interview with him a while ago where he was sitting in front of a wall of gold records, and Master of Puppets was behind him. So I'm like, he got the records. He benefited, but it just blows me away that this is the middle child to Peace Sells and Rust in Peace, because it isn't even that great of a transition record. And how did they go? Well, obviously the lineup probably had something to do with it. We had Jeff Young and I can't remember the other guy. I mean, you get Marty Friedman and Nick Menza take over their positions. It's definitely a trade up in talent. So you had better musicians on Rust in Peace, but this was a band that just kind of, I don't know, drug-addled, lost, tired, all the above. I don't know, but I struggled, and I still struggle with it. And why is a U.S. band doing a punk political cover with Anarchy in the UK? Just makes no sense. You don't live there, Dave. Anthrax did it too. I didn't get it. I don't get it. Anyway, I complain about that.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, I think that one's a combination of obviously the band kind of at their drugged out worst. And again, the lineup change here. They lost a couple, really unique players, and filled in with, adequate talent, but definitely not among the best members the band's ever had in their lineups over the years. So it's understandable why that album, feels like a dip compared to the ones around it. I don't dislike it as much as you do, but I'm not going to, it's definitely, the weakest out of the first 4.
Yeah. Easy.
I'm not thrilled with the production on it. It's got a weird production.
That's a good point too, George. Yeah, it doesn't have the best sound either, so it's got a lot of strikes against it. I think it side 2 is a lot better than side 1, so the album does kind of pick up towards the end at least. But yeah, side 1's a bit of a mess.
All right, we got that out of the way. George, you're back.
All right. Well, this was one of the first albums I got when I was young, and this is one of the first ones I thought of doing, because their first album was pretty much a metal album, if it didn't look like it. And their second album, Transition, this is what it became. Let's Stay Hungry.
Yeah, okay. Yep. Good choice.
So definitely, they can see the progression, how the last album, UK Soft Rock and Roll, kind of became this, because that's what. And the first album was a pure metal album, in my opinion, for the time, anyway. But this one is a little more, way more commercial, but
Way more.
certainly put them on the map too.
Mm-hmm.
But I still like the album, even though, again, we're not going to take it. I Want to Rock way overplayed. But
really got to hand it to D. Schneider. I listened to that record. Someone gave me a copy of it. It's really, really wrecked. It's a partied on copy, but I cleaned it up and listening to it on occasion. And D. Schneider just has a great voice. He can sing the ballads. I can see why he wanted to, because I think it was kind of him that drove the band towards the more commercial leanings. I think he wanted to show his talents a bit more on the softer side and a little bit to get that commercial nod, a little bit more money. And I guess it did work. That album was kind of huge. It was all over MTV. I mean, every time you turn it on, it was I Want to Rock or whatever the hell else. There's 2 or 3 videos from that whole cycle.
we're not going to take it.
We're not going to take it. Yeah. So it's like, it's definitely a transitional album, because after that, they kind of really went weak. Love Is for Suckers and the one with the manhole. I can't remember the name. With the
Come Out and Play.
Ooh,
I
a
like
couple
the
good
album,
songs
though.
on. A couple good songs on it, but man, there's a lot of fluff.
Yeah. Well, it's funny how parents were afraid of Twitch's sister at the time.
Right? It's crazy. Yeah.
It's funny. Of all the stuff coming out, you're afraid of Twitch's sister.
Yeah.
That's the one that was the most threatening.
Yep. All right, Alan, what you got?
All right, I see Frank's already in the chat, so I've got some new ways
Frank.
of British heavy metal specifically for Frank. Picked Chateau's 3rd album, which is called Highly Strung. Not a great cover art, but this is Ebony Records. Was always maybe a little bit of a 2nd-tier label. Chateaux started out, with a little bit of hype because Steve Grimmett did vocals on their first album. Grim Reaper was pretty big at the time, so it's just like, oh, okay. The bands were label mates, kind of similar in style, so it worked. And they followed that up with Firepower, which is a really good album. The problem Chateaux was running into was just timing as much as anything. The debut didn't come out until '83, which is getting a bit late for new wave of British heavy metal. Firepower came out in 1984, which was a year loaded with big, massively hyped monster releases. So yeah, Chateau being like, hey, we got our own vocalist now on Made Good Records. Is like, yeah, whatever. Everyone's listening to Ride the Lightning and all that stuff. And so then, 85, new wave of British heavy metal is definitely feeling like it's over the hill. And Highly Strung is not a bad album whatsoever, but it was a band that you kind of felt like, it's just not going to happen at this point. Like we said with some of the other bands, they had gotten to the 3rd album, and the material's close to what they had done on previous ones, but by this point, you just feel like there's no chance for a 4th album. You haven't got over by this point. The style is kind of worn out its welcome a bit. Bands are getting faster. Bands are getting more aggressive, or they're getting glammier and more accessible. There's not much room left in 1985 for a band like Chateaux. So, bit of a shame that it didn't work out. I always liked them. I thought they were one of, if not the best acts on the Ebony label. But all 3 albums are decent. I'm pretty sure you can get a CD set that has the whole discography as one thing if you're interested in checking them out. Just really good, sharp, guitar-driven new wave of British heavy metal, like early Grim Reaper. But album 3 was going to be it. So some new wave of British heavy metal there for Frank and Aaron and other folks into that. And I'll have a little bit more next time around.
I can say that I've never seen you show that record. I've never seen
like
you.
I tried to pick some things I haven't shown or haven't shown in a long time. So, trying to mix it up a little bit here.
Good pick, Ron. I struggled with that Monument album when it first came out, but I ended up kind of really liking it. A couple of weak songs here and there, but
it has its moments. It's another one that kind of pales in comparison to some of the to the other 2 albums, but it's not that bad. All right, Marty, take us to your next pick.
I don't know if I should. I'm just going to keep going down this road. We're going to keep doing I picked the big four because I figured it was relevant to talk about. But Rain and Blood, Slayer. I got to say, I think Show No Mercy is my favorite Slayer, but this is a close second. It depends on my mood, but this album to this day rips. It doesn't get old as many millions of times as I've spun it. It's still an amazing record, and I think this is their most aggressive that they ever were. I don't think they were ever this aggressive again. They just seemed like they were firing on all cylinders. You know, South of Heaven was where do you go after this? There's not going to be blast beats in Slayer, so you're not going to go faster. You're just going to write Rain and Blood Part 2. So they opted to go slower, a little bit more melodic, I guess, with South of Heaven. But Rain and Blood is one of those super short albums. Should be an EP, but it's not. It's considered a full length. And it's iconic Slayer. This is the one most people, I think of when they think of Slayer. Mm-hmm. Unless, of course, you jump in Seasons in the Abyss or South of Heaven. Those are your first albums. Those are probably the ones you're going to love the most. But I remember hearing this for the first time, just pretty much being blown away at the opening scream of Angel of Death, all the way to the thunder clap at the end and Raining Blood. It's just, they hold you, they kept me captivated the entire time with complete aggression. So, and for the thrash era, there was other fast bands as well, but there was something particularly mean and sinister about Rain and Blood, to me anyway, I think.
No, essential pick. Wanted to say thank you to Ian also for the super chat a minute ago.
Thank you, Ian.
Yeah, I think I'm lagging a little bit on the comments, so sorry if I'm not getting replies fired off to folks very quickly.
All right. George is back with another round.
All right. This one, I kind of jumped all over with stuff I was going to show. This made it a little different. This is actually the first death metal album I ever bought, and when I bought it, I didn't like it because I didn't know it was a death metal album. I bought it by the cover, but now it's probably my third favorite death metal album. Bolt Thrower.
Oh, nice. Mm-hmm.
Classic.
War Master.
Yep.
Absolutely love it. I bought it for the cover. Like when you ever just buy albums by looking at the cover, remember those days?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That was our internet.
Long gone. now you just sort of. But I love the cover. And I was like, oh, then I listened to it. I was like, oh. But now I kept listening to it. Now it's like I absolutely love it. It's one of my favorite death metal albums ever. So it's don't know what to say. It's just one of those really dumb, just great albums. Too many. I try to explain. This is what you feel when you listen to an album. It's one of those that just kind of gets to you. And this one actually took years to get to it, but it got to it. And then I bought every album after that.
I was going to ask you, how far did you go into their catalog?
I got all of them.
Yeah.
So even the first one, which was really hard to find.
That one's always been a pain.
Yeah. So I spent a little much for it, but I did finally buy it. And that was a very different one, that first one, than what they came. That's more thrashy. The vocals are very tame.
Yeah.
Yep.
But this one is just.
Yeah, no, this one's great. I love War Master. It's got my favorite Bolt Thrower song on it with Cenotaph.
Great song.
Great too.
Yeah. All right. Oh, Wilson's asking.
Oh, George, a question here for you in the chat. Wilson wanted to know if you clicked original CD pressings or if you don't worry about the pressing.
I don't really worry about it. Because it's hard to find originals. Like I made a lot of the CDs I have, I've had since like 1990. So those are original. You know, and then I have some that are just remastered. They're just reissued. So I get what I can find. It's not like a CD is the same as getting an original vinyl. That's kind of more special, I think, you to get original vinyl. I don't know, some people always like Jurgen's for original vinyl. Always showing these vinyl. Like I don't know where he finds this stuff. I have no idea, but I consider I don't collect vinyl. I love watching everyone showing their vinyl for some reason. I think it's amazing how they still find it. It's in the shrink wrap. Where was this in the shrink wrap from 40 years ago?
Yeah. How is the shrink wrap not pulling off? Because that old shrink wrap, it could chemically adhere to the cover. I had one record that did that. So now I take the shrink off. If there's shrink on it, I tried to save the hype sticker, and because it could screw up your record a little bit. But yeah, it's amazing. Jurgen's got the hookups for sure. All right, Alan.
All right, let's do another new wave of British heavy metal one there for Frank and other fans. I went with Witchfynde's third album. This is a picture disc version of it. It's called Cloak and Dagger. Kind of a cool, occulty design to it. Looks good on a picture disc, even if it doesn't sound, amazing. Witchfynde, it kind of sounds like Witchfinder General, but the names, it's a different band, and they did have a different sound. Witchfynde went for more of a kind of an occult vibe. They go way back into the 70s. They've got recordings as early as about 1975, just demos and rehearsals and stuff. But yeah, they kind of hit just right at the start of the new wave of British heavy metal. Got some attention with their first album, Give 'Em Hell, in 1980. Second album was similar, but then there's like a 3-year gap. And in those 3 years, this was another band that had an important lineup change. The original vocalist was out, and a new vocalist came in. The newer vocalist has a much higher voice. You can tell he's influenced by King Diamond, early Mercyful Fate material. And some folks really like the change, some folks don't. And funnily enough, Witchfynde, it's a pretty obscure band. This is not like, a band anyone's gone out and gotten Witchfynde tattooed all over themselves as a mark of dedication. But I'll be damned if Witchfynde fans will not get really pissed off and fight over different albums and stuff. If you say that, you're more of, a Luther fan than a Steven fan, you will get shitty comments back about it. It's like, dude, we're talking about Witchfynde here. It's not like I said, Bruce Dickinson sucks or something. Nevertheless, yeah. So to go along with the change in vocalist, there's kind of a change in sound here. The band did update from the first two albums, which they're metal, but they still had one foot really planted in 70s hard rock. It's not a bad thing necessarily, but it did make them sound kind of dated at times. On this one, they do feel like they updated their sound to be a bit more early 1980s metal sounding. Personally, I prefer these albums, this one and the fourth album, just because it sounds a little more consistently metal. There are some great tracks on here. There are some duds too. It's not a perfect album start to finish. It was good enough to get the band one more chance to make a record. They had a fourth one come out about a year later. They were one of those bands though that they kept hopping labels. This one's on, I think, Expulsion Records, which if you've never heard of them, yeah, exactly. And then album number 4 ended up on Mausoleum, which at the time was kind of considered like, your last chance to get something out. If Mausoleum was the only one offering you a contract, you probably weren't going to be around for a long time. But yeah, Witchfynde, I like the Cloak and Dagger album. I like the new vocalist on it. Does definitely signify kind of a change for that band, trying to navigate, out of the early 80s and into the mid 80s a little bit. So that may be all my new wave of British heavy metal for the night. We'll see if I have any more buried in the stack somewhere.
Right on. Another one I've never seen you show. Very cool. All right. Well, might as well round out the big four with Among the Living. Nick is correct. This was a favorite. When this thing came out, I must have worn that cassette out. I could not stop listening to it. I'd get done. I'd flip the tape around, hit it again, over and over and over and over and over until I knew every word, every note, every drum fill, every air drum fill. And it's still all these old big four band. Most of it all holds up really well today. I don't know if that's nostalgia talking or what, but you put this on and it still has the same excitement it did. I'm not going to go through the track list because I think everybody here is very familiar with it. But again, on their third album, their first album, you got Neil Turbin on vocals, a little bit more traditional heavy metal, new wave of British heavy metal inspired. They were in a lot of ways similar to what Metallica were doing, with a little bit more melodious of a singer. But as they went, they got way thrashier. They really leaned into it. The East Coast sound. The East Coast sound had a little bit more diversity amongst the bands. And Anthrax sounded like Anthrax. which is totally cool. There's a bit of a punk vibe to them mixed in, or hardcore. I shouldn't say punk. It's more of a hardcore vibe mixed in with what they ended up being and running with for a very long time. But Among the Living, I think the sales and the notoriety was well deserved. They were probably the sillier of the big four, but they just seemed like down to earth kind of collector, comic book collector nerd kind of dudes, skateboarders, guys you probably hung out with in school. So that they had that sort of relatability to them, I think. But yeah, absolutely great band, great album that still stands the test of time for me. It's a fun record.
Yep, another one. And yeah, that, at least in my little neck of the woods, that is definitely the album that everybody really noticed Anthrax on, and like you said, just could not stop playing. It was very popular in my high school.
All right, George, you are back.
Okay. Well, like Alan, he's told how Witchfynde changed their singer at the third album. So did this band.
That they did.
Completely different sound from the first two. And I know people that would like the first two albums, and that's all they like.
Mm-hmm.
After that, they were done. Deanna left, but Dickinson brought them to a whole nother level that they would never.
Yep.
Well, they looked back for a little bit, but they just definitely the next four albums they put out were just perfectly different. They kind of went out at maybe that little bit that new wave of British heavy metal sound, kind of a little different later on, but this one kind of kept it in there. And this one's got the which is putting up on the album with the I can't the name of the song now. I just looked it up too. The one that they didn't put on the regular album.
Oh,
I just looked at it too, and I can't remember it. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I do. Hold on.
Just look it up. It's right here. Why can't I remember it? I just looked at
Total
it.
Eclipse?
That's it. Total Eclipse.
Yeah.
Total Eclipse. That should have been on here originally.
That brain cell hasn't died yet, apparently.
And I just looked at it too. I get on this camera and I'm doing it. I'm like, why am I just so stupid?
I'm the same way, man.
But it's a great tune. And people don't like the song Gangland, but I think that's a good song. I don't know if people don't like it, but the album's a great song. It's a great album. One of people's favorites. Still one of my favorites. Again, overplayed with Number of the Beast and Run to the Hills, and Hallowed Be Thy Name. So, but still, it's a classic for a reason. So that's why.
I often wonder. You still got Clive Burr on drums, and so you're still clinging to the old spirit of Maiden a bit. And what if Di'Anno sang on that record? I mean, the material's still really strong. Do you think they would have had the notoriety, or they think they would have been continue to ride that wave if Di'Anno sang on Number of the Beast? I often wonder. For most of it, he could do it. I think he would have been fine.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It would have been a totally different sound, but he would have definitely, because he did write Total Eclipse with them. So I wonder what I don't think there's any videos or vocals of them doing the actual song, but he did write the song with Steve Harris. So
He did. I did not know that. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That's what it says here. So yeah, so what if they demoed it with him or they didn't demo with him? I don't know. Maybe someone knows. Maybe your friend Lazarus would know because he's the big Maiden guy. Maybe he knows.
He might.
He might even have it. You never know.
Probably has it. Yeah. He's probably there.
It's an interesting question, Marty. My knee-jerk reaction is like, I'm not sure how Di'Anno would sound on a song like "Hallowed Be Thy Name."
Yeah.
But when you stop and think about it, they did things like "Strange World" on the debut album, and he's actually really good at some of those kind of slower, a little more moody numbers. He sounds great on that one, so he might have been able to pull off a good amount of that material. I don't know. It would be an interesting sort of what-if scenario. I'm sure give everybody another 6 months and some AI bot will put, Paul Di'Anno's voice on top of the music track for Mark of the Beast, and we'll all be charged, $49.99 for it.
I hate when they do that. They did that with You Shook Me All Night Long. They put Bon Scott's voice on it. I'm like, this sounded weird.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, just leave it alone. Just leave it alone.
Yeah. It is what it is, but
yeah,
shoulda. I mean, we all know that Di'Anno wasn't going to go the distance with Maiden, and I think Bruce really was fairly responsible for them, moving to the next level, the worldwide level, where I think Diano was very instrumental in them conquering England. I think Bruce had the stuff to take them to the next step. So,
agreed.
All right, Ellen.
All right, let's see. I think Rick was in the chat, right?
He was. I don't know if he still is. Hey, Rick. Hey, Ryan.
Rick, if Rick's out there, Rick sent me this recently. And it's a third album, so it seemed to fit the bill tonight. It's Virgin Steele's third album called Noble Savage. And right away, it's just, I love the cover because it's everything that every 80s barbarian is.
It looks like a Beastmaster movie poster.
It kind of does. Yep. And I love these things. He comes alone out of a savage land ruled by chaos and evil. And damn if he doesn't have fine hair. It's like, why did we think barbarians would look like this in these movies? Perfectly clean. There's not a speck of dirt on this man.
Or hair. There's no body hair anywhere.
Perfectly, he's fighting off tyrannosaurs and cannibals and all this shit, but he's still got time to wax. How does this work in a post-apocalypse? I don't know.
It's Thundar the Barbarian.
It does look like that. Yeah, he's just missing the little bracelet thing there to put his sword on. Anyway, this one is again a lineup change album because the band had parted ways with guitarist Jack Starr, and so now it's the other members are still there, but let's be honest. At this point forward, it's the David DeFay show. Yeah, he very much takes the reins and starts to steer the band in this, kind of more classically epic, direction that Virgin Steele became associated with. Again, lots of that kind of romantic imagery. He kind of refers to Virgin Steele later as like, barbaric romantic opera metal. Yeah, that kind of fits the bill. For this particular album, they're just getting that sound started. And it's not bad. I do go back and forth on this album, though. There are times I'll play it just like pretty good. There are other times I play it and I feel like it's a bit of a misfire. It's a little uneven. Yeah, it has its moments. The song everybody tends to gravitate towards is called Angel of Light, which, good tune. And there are other good ones on it, too. But yeah, this picture, too, again, just kind of tells you everything. Check out these outfits. To be wearing like, leopard print anything with a black vest on top, you are very confident in many, many aspects of your appearance.
It's carrying around the fifth member of the band. Yeah. Literally.
Yep. That's some hair for you right there. Yeah. And this guy, he's got kind of a creepy thing. That's a lot of chest hair right there. That's just a lot of chest hair.
Impressive.
So, yeah, it's not their finest hour, but it did mark kind of a new beginning. They navigated it. In a way, it's almost feels a little out of place because after this, the next two albums almost slide backwards towards being a little more hard rock leaning. And then they kind of start getting back to the more epic thing. So it's almost like this album could have come out after the next two ones in terms of the direction they were going in. It's a little weird that way. But Virgin Steele's Noble Savage. It's part of their discography. Not my favorite, not my least favorite. And a big thank you to Rick for sending me. This is a really cool 2 CD version. I've had this before, but the one Rick sent is a double disc set. It's got like a lot of interesting demos, really good liner notes with it and everything. So really nice item. And thank you.
What year did that come out, that album?
This one, let me double check that, George. That's a good question. I always get this wrong. I want to say it's 86.
I'm looking at the clothes. That's what you had to figure it out.
Yeah.
Where they dress. Because there was a fine line between power metal and glam metal. They all kind of dress both the same. You wouldn't tell by looking at the back cover. Sometimes
that is true.
Same kind of leopard outfits and all that stuff. You wouldn't know the difference.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Noble Savage is actually 85.
Wow.
I'm always thinking it's later than it is. So 85. The outfits do kind of make sense for 1985, and you're right. You could have put this on and they could have been, singing "We got to hold on to what we've got" or something. But this guy's holding on to something, a really big sword. But, yeah, no, definitely more in the U.S. power metal vein, just a little fancier. Again, David DeFay's a great vocalist, great pianist, so he had some pretty high aspirations, and for the most part, I think the band really got there over time.
Chucky B is asking you, Alan, what is your favorite Virgin Steele?
Oh, it would be a toss-up between Invictus and Marriage of Heaven and Hell Part 1. They did a lot of good albums, but those are the two I go back to the most.
All right,
Marty. Let's pass this giant, well-oiled sword over to you for some fun.
You shouldn't have. All right. Well, this is an album I've always kind of struggled with a bit, and it's not because it's bad. It's actually a very, very good album, but it's 9 Equilibrium by Emperor. So much so that I wanted to this week, I had a little bit of extra time working out in the shop, that I'm like, you know what? I'm throwing that in the player. It's been probably since it came out that I've listened to it. And I'm ultimately very impressed with the technical growth, the evolution. Every album, this band is evolving as musicians by leaps and bounds. I think a lot of it is primarily due to Ihsahn and, of course, the addition of Trim to the band. He just added a very technical and perfect speed and a bit of chaos to the music. But Ihsahn was really going into more of a progressive style. There's some King Diamond-isms in here too, here and there, in his vocals and in some of the music. But, I couldn't get mad at this album listening to it this week. It's really, especially the, I think it's the Elegy of Icaros. There is a midsection music thing going on. The guitar part is just so inventive and cool and different. It's just like, wow, a band that's this confident in their abilities moving forward, and they lived that whole black metal aesthetic. I mean, they were a big part of the darkness. And, I interviewed Ihsahn during the anthems, and he was evil Ihsahn. He talked really low and really mysterious and evil. And when he was done talking, he would just stop and silence. It's like petting his raven. I don't know what he was doing, but here you're starting to see a little bit of light in the music. And I think this is what kind of bugged me, because I really, really love In the Night Side Eclipse. I really love Anthems. It's because of the darkness element to it. Not that I'm a dark, evil guy, but I do appreciate that in music sometimes. And then hearing, little rays of light coming into the music as the band becomes more progressive. It seemed, I don't know, I wanted one more dark and evil record, I guess. And this is not a dark and evil record. There's some very, very inventive, good music here. And even on the Prometheus album after this, they progress yet again. They lean even further into that complex and proggy sort of end result. But 9 Equilibrium, glad I spent some time with it this week. I might actually throw it on again just to get a little bit more, see if I could get a little bit more out of it. I must have listened to it back in the day enough to know some of the songs, because I felt very familiar with the record, but it just never was what I wanted, which isn't the band's fault. But for a third album, it's a technical achievement for sure.
Well said. Yeah, it's a divisive album these days. Some folks love it, some hate it. My issue with it when it came out was, at the time, everybody just could not stop kissing Emperor's ass. It was like if Ihsahn farted into the microphone, it was a glorious moment to be cherished. And oh my goodness, can you believe the tonality he got with that little wetness at the end? I got so sick of everybody just hyping Emperor that I never really gave it a fair chance back then. I've revisited it since. Yeah, it's an interesting album, but I really just wanted to tell people, just shut the fuck up about Emperor. I've heard enough about Emperor. Let's discuss anything but Emperor by that time.
They were really, that whole Norwegian scene, there's a lot of talent there, but they were really, I think, pushing boundaries, and probably no one could really beat them note for note as far as musical ability. It very advanced. And to think that Nightside Eclipse was written by 16-year-olds is still just completely boggles my mind. But they never made a big deal out of that. It wasn't like, check out this thrash metal album, The Ultraviolence, with a 14-year-old drummer or whatever it was. It's like, oh, this is their marketing point to get people to check it out. And I can get Alan all fired up here. What we're trying to do, but all right, George.
All right. Well, this third album is the first album they put out was like a classic. The second was more classic. So I don't know if this is a little dip in the catalog or not, but I think it's a good album. Candlemass' Ancient Dreams.
Oh, nice choice.
I knew it was going to happen.
I mean, I think it's not as good as the first two, but still, it's not a slacker of an album. I could have done without the Black Sabbath medley. Not that it's bad, but you could have put in another song on, maybe another original song on the album.
Fair.
And Mirror Mirror is the one, I guess, the big one on the album. And what is it? Mirror of Pain, another great one. But yeah, it's definitely a great doom album. It's still classic. Still got the same sound as the last album. I mean, what do you call Messiah has a great voice.
Oh yeah,
weird looking dude, but has a great voice. His whole shtick with the cloak thing is kind of weird. I mean, they don't have the best videos either at the time. But I guess Mirror Mirror is better than the one before that with Bewitched. That really weird one in the graveyard, whatever. That was really weird. Yeah. That was a bizarre video.
Yeah. I gotta say, this is a great companion album to Nightfall, though. It feels like Nightfall Part 2, but a little bit more aggressive at times. So you got a little bit more double bass here and there, and
it's a little more straightforward Doom. Nightfall, has like all those little sort of interlude pieces that breaks it up, whereas this one just feels like it's kind of song after song after song, except for things like the Epistle 81.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've always liked that album a lot. I think it was my first Candlemass album. Yeah, that was the first Candlemass album I ever got, and still like it a lot.
Right on. I think they're doing some reunion shows with him. I saw a picture on Facebook the other day, them hanging out with him. I don't know if they're just doing a few shows or if they're going back to him again. I don't know. It'd be kind of cool, but I don't know.
That would be interesting. Maybe somebody in the chat has some more details. I'm not sure. I mean,
they just put that EP out with the other singer just recently. So I don't know if they go back with him or they're just doing a one-off show. I don't know what's the deal with that either. But I read about that too.
Ronnie James Dio here saying it's one show.
It's just a one show thing. Thanks for the one.
Yeah, Johan is still the permanent singer. Okay, right on.
Yeah, I like Johan as a singer. I don't feel like they've really nailed an album with him since he came back into the fold. And he sounds fine, but I don't know. The albums just haven't had a lot of staying power. So maybe next one out we'll do it.
All right, Alan.
All right. Well, let's stay in the Doom vein for a minute here. Actually, let's go with this one, because that actually, now that I'm looking at this one, I'm thinking I may have pulled the fourth album instead of the third by that band. So let's go with this album, number 3, by Morgion, Cloaked by Ages and Crowned in Earth. This was a really cool band, kind of an early death doom type of sound. And the sound evolved over all 3 albums, which was also interesting. The first one had more of a raw sound to it. The second one got, really atmospheric and was, had a very cool, almost cosmic kind of thing going on. This one feels a bit more grounded. Yes, that pun is on purpose. Ground in earth, grounded. Yeah, you see what I did there. And it's not a bad album, but it does feel just kind of like it's a quieter album. I don't know if the band was already maybe aware that this was going to be their finale, but it definitely feels like it. It's not that the songwriting is bad or anything. It just feels like it's a bit tame. It's almost like, okay, we're just going to do this one thing. It's going to go kind of smooth. We're not going to really try push to make this a huge sound or really go over the top with anything. It just feels, much more down to earth, kind of quiet, kind of a somber vibe to a lot of the tracks. And it works well for some of the numbers. I think overall, it does tend to get a little bit on the dull side, as you go through the whole album at once. But it's still Morgion, and it's still fairly good. It definitely has its moments of brilliance. But yeah, it would sadly be the band's last outing. There's been some demo collections and stuff like that. The drummer is now in Stygian Crown, which is a pretty cool doom band that's got a couple of albums out. But in the Morgion catalog, I still keep this one around. It's not like it's going anywhere, but it's not one I pull out very often either. It just feels like they're kind of quietly closing up shop, packing things away and getting ready to shutter the project soon after this. So that's my pick for this round. Not a bad album, but not the highlight of their career. And while Marty shows his next one, I want to double check to see if I picked the wrong album off the shelf for this other one.
All right, next couple I'm going to show here, solid enough albums, but they just never cared for them much. And third album by Florida's Obituary, The Incomplete. We talk about a band establishing themselves and their sound, and is this something to be praised, or three strikes and you're out? To me, The Incomplete, they tried to write Cause of Death again. And Cause of Death, I think, song for song is better. And at this point, 3 albums in, Obituary is just kind of showing the world that they are indeed a one-trick pony. And if you're fine with that, you're going to enjoy just about every single Obituary album moving forward. Other than the one after this, they started to add some more modern, like industrial loops every once in a while, weird little things. But still, at the end of the day, it was still just those, ham-fisted power chords and grooves that Obituary has been known for. Over the years, they put out some good stuff. I like the self-titled quite a bit. The last album was really good. There's nothing really going on in Obituary that makes me want to not listen to Cause of Death or the first album. Really, that's kind of where they seem their hungriest. And again, The Incomplete is a fine album. It does Obituary very well, but it's just kind of the formula is a hard sell as they move forward for me. It just gets kind of boring. It's a boring.
Yeah,
that's actually my favorite album.
Is it?
By them.
And I get it. It's solid. It's really solid.
Yeah.
Maybe this is the first one I got. Maybe sometimes the first one you get from a band is you put it up a little higher than other albums usually.
Yep.
Yeah. It's not a bad album. I remember reading an interview with somebody, and it might have been Monty from Roadrunner or someone like that. But they made the observation that with Incomplete, Obituary made a good album, but they spent like $100,000 making it. And really, it didn't necessarily sound that much better, than what they had done on the first 2 albums for a fraction of the cost. And it was kind of at that point, bands and labels started to realize that you can only push this style of music so far, that pumping a lot of extra money into the production and all this stuff, it wasn't necessarily going to generate a superior sounding album. And so, while The Incomplete is good, it didn't, perform $100,000 better than previous ones.
Yeah,
it didn't sound $100,000 better than previous ones. It was just like, it's another really good Obituary album, but we already did 2 of those, and those 2 combined didn't even cost half of this one. What are we doing?
Yep. All right, George is back.
Okay, well, it's another death metal album. I think the band's first album I was never a huge fan of, and the second album grows on me. But I think they really hit it with this one, Benediction.
That's my favorite too. That's a good album.
Love the album cover too.
Yeah.
But I think they definitely hit their stride with this one. The first album with Barney was just, I never liked the production on that one. It just seemed kind of flat. And the Grand Level is good, has some good tunes on it. I just never was never grabbed me. This one definitely grabbed me. It's definitely one of their best releases they ever put out. I mean, it's not the new one, which is pretty damn good too. But this one just it's a great death metal album. Never get sick of listening to it. So that was a good choice.
Yeah, that's a really good pick. I wouldn't have thought about it, but you're completely right in showing that one. That was they started to really kind of sound good to me. The other stuff was kind of boring.
Yeah, I mean the first album with Barney definitely has its fans. I don't have anything against it, but yeah, Rubicon's the one I always kind of gravitated towards. I liked the Dark is the Season EP also, which did that come right before or right after that one? I get fuzzy on their catalog.
I think before, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, it's around the same time. Okay,
right before. I think it's not too far from it.
Okay.
All right. Alan.
All right.
Hey, we 100 folks. Everybody in the chat, thanks so much for joining us. Good to see you all on a Friday night. Thanks for having us. Thanks for coming.
Absolutely, yeah. And folks, yeah, we're mentioning tons of good ones. We're not going to get to everything the chat's mentioning, but yeah, they're definitely covering a lot of bases we won't get to. All right, let's go with this one, I guess. So, yeah, fantastic album here. Album number 3 from While Heaven Wept, called Vast Oceans Lachrymose. This one came out in 2009, and the band had been generating some hype in the underground up to this point, but this was the album that really made them. For a few years, they were darlings of the heavy metal scene, and they had a good album or two after this before kind of just collapsing under the weight of way too many band members getting added over time. This album has moments that come closer to like Fate's Warning's Awaken the Guardian than just about anything else that's been made before or since. Gorgeous vocals by guys. His first name is Rain. I don't remember his last name. Yeah, Tom Phillips' guitar work is very emotive, very beautiful. It's an odd composition, very short track list. And it has some very long songs and then like some very short songs. So it's a really weirdly balanced album. But it all works extremely well. The beautiful moments are absolutely sublime. The more like chugging metal moments really sweep you up in the story they're telling. It's fantastic stuff. And again, it was a huge deal when it came out. And I feel like it's an album that over the past 10 years or so has kind of gotten a little buried and forgotten. I don't hear people bring it up very often, which is a real shame. I think it's probably one of the best albums of the 21st century for heavy metal. It really is that good. And like I said, the follow-up album is still quite good, but they did eventually make one. Their last album felt like it was just a complete miss. By that point, they had like 8 members in the band or something crazy. But yeah, at this point, they had really sharpened things up. It's definitely a watershed moment for them. That pun is also intentionally. Apparently, I'm doing earth and water puns tonight. But oceans, watershed, yeah. I'm in a goofy mood. Leave me alone. But if no one's ever checked this out, if you like, just traditional heavy metal stuff in the vein of Fate's Warning, absolutely, this is an album to go back and check out. It's once again While Heaven Wept with Vast Oceans Lachrymose. Don't let the band name scare you off of them. That was a mistake I made at first. I felt like While Heaven Wept must be some kind of like weepy goth band. Not at all. Really, really gorgeous stuff. They made some killer albums.
Super funny, the Fish Cult, you just mentioned that because it's in my hands right here. Across the Open Sea by Unleashed.
There we go.
This is a band that I really was really into. The first 2 albums are great. I got Across the Open Sea and To Asgard We Fly. An awesome, energetic, firing off track for the album. But from there on, the album just kind of flattens out a bit for me. They started to get really repetitive with the choruses, and just Johnny's voice wasn't as deathly, I guess. And then you towards the end of the album, you put Breaking the Law, a Judas Priest cover. I mean, you're a Viking death metal band, and you're covering out of all the Judas Priest's songs, you're going to cover Breaking the Law. Come on. Doesn't fit on the record.
That was a choice. That was
a choice. It was a choice, like Mexican Radio on Into the Pandemonium. But this to me was kind of a sign of a bad run. It was a start of a bad run for Unleashed, which would get better around Hammer Battalion and going forward. They got the fire back again, but yeah, it was kind of like a punk aesthetic entered their sound a bit, which I found a little strange, but this album isn't all bad. There's some good stuff on it. It's just a definite step down from the two that came before it, in my opinion. So this is one of those so-so. It's a so-so third album for me.
I would agree on that one. It's I always wanted to like it more than I do.
Yeah,
just doesn't quite hit the mark for some reason. And yeah, like you said, there are pre-songs they could have picked that probably would have at least been close to their aesthetic.
Yep.
Breaking the Law is not one of them.
I still talk shit about it, Eric, but I didn't pull it tonight. But yeah, it was because I was so disappointed by that record when it came out. I'm still salty about it. Anyway, George.
All right, this album is the final album with this original singer. The first two albums they came out more hard rock 70s, and of course having the greatest mascot ever.
There it is.
That's debatable.
Absolutely.
I mean, what about Randy? Come on.
Considering it came out for the first time came out 77? That predates even Maiden.
Yeah.
Eddie, so this is all you get. But anyway, the album is spectacular. I mean, Guys Perez did a great job on it, and they turned up the octane this one. It sounds more like a metal album. And it's basically this one, I think, and Thundersteel, the two of their classic albums they ever put out, which Ride doesn't get enough love. And this album definitely is great. This probably put up a lot of people when it came out looking at that, like, what the hell is that? Probably no one bought it because of that.
Infinite Void saying right now.
Yeah. But it's a great album.
Yeah. For most folks, it's their favorite, and with good reason. It's got some timeless tracks on it. Absolutely, and yes, Nick with kind of the deep metallurgy lore cut there with the monkey seal.
Alan has that as a tattoo. Tony, if we were going to pool our money to get Alan a tattoo, it'd be a tough toss-up between what would he pick? Would he pick Tior, or would he pick Randy, the cabbage Rodney Dangerfield looking cabbage head guy?
Well, the real deal here, Marty. Randy is what Tior looks like. Tior is just like a big paper mache head. If you remove the big paper mache head, it's Randy underneath.
Or you could get them two embracing. That'd be awesome.
Maybe only if you can get them posed and shaded just right so that it looks like the cover of Bloody Kisses.
Yes. 1 million likes, everybody. You heard it here first. 1 million likes. There's
your new Heavy Metallurgy shirt.
Yeah.
We may have just stumbled into something of a terrible beauty has been born.
Yes. Oh, man. Good pick, George.
Yes, awesome pick.
All right.
This one, I pulled the wrong CD, so we'll just go to the phone for the third album by Symphony X. The third one is Divine Wings of Tragedy, not Twilight in Olympus, which I almost showed a minute ago. Yeah, I always forget about Damnation Game for some reason. Yeah, that one just completely eludes me. But yeah, Symphony X, excellent, U.S. power metal band. They, some albums are better than others. Damnation Game for me, Divine Wings of Tragedy is definitely where the band's, really, finding their sound. It's coming along really well. This one's got, some really strong songs on it. it was my introduction to the band, and yeah, I liked it enough that I kept following up with them from this point forward. Great guitar work, Michael Romero's an amazing guitarist. You've got killer vocals with Russell Allen. There we go.
Russell Allen, yeah.
Yep, tripped over for a second. But yeah, Russell, you've got two really top-notch guys right there. And for this style of music, you definitely need the vocalist and the guitarist to be A-listers, and both those guys are for sure. So yeah, Symphony X, they changed a little bit over time. Some of the later albums got a bit faster, maybe a little more aggressive, but they never really dropped off in quality or anything. They stayed pretty consistent. They didn't become like, a groove, grunge, retro, throwback K-pop band or anything weird. They did their thing and did it well. They haven't done anything in a long time, it feels like. Let's check on that while I've got the archives open here. Yeah, nothing's happened since Underworld, and that's been 10 years ago. So, Symphony X, hey, how you doing out there? What's up? Metal Archive says you're active, but it's been 10 years.
They played Sweden Rock last year, and they did, I think, a little European tour. They did some stuff, and
yeah,
they did that there's stuff coming, but
yeah, they still definitely are making live appearances. But yeah, it's an oddly long time to go without any new material, so I'm not sure what's with that.
Yeah,
but yeah, on album number 3, Divine Wings of Tragedy, I felt like they were coming along really well. Twilight in Olympus, album number 4, I think is one of their best, but Divine Wings can hold its own.
Oh, excuse me. Agreed. Good album. All right, third full-length album. It took 32 years to come out. Well, 33 years, I believe, since the album that came full-length before it. But Revelations of Oblivion by Possessed.
Oh, I was just playing this the other day.
You know what? I had to throw this on too to refamiliarize. I listened to it for maybe a week after it came out, never again afterwards. And it's surprising that, yeah, it sounds like Possessed. And it sounds like a old thrash. The spirit of old thrash is definitely here. You got the rototom fills on the drums that always add that feeling of nostalgia for sure. And members of, I think, Sadistic Execution in the band. Not Sadistic Execution, Sadistic Intent. Sorry. Simon's like, what? But yeah, they really kind of nailed the old spirit of Possessed, and Jeff Becerra's voice still sounds like Jeff Becerra. He's got a very unique kind of drawl to his screaming. The way he, elongates the words and the phrases, it sounds like Possessed. So for him being the only official original member here, of course, I do believe he wrote a lot of the material too. So yeah, Possessed. They're back, and they brought an old feeling of thrash to the modern era, and with a nice, bright, modern production. And it worked. It worked. It was a success. Not mind-blowing, but a success. They did, I think, what they needed to do, for sure. All right, and George is back.
All right, I'm going to pick a little more, maybe more mainstream band, but they changed their, not change their sound, but they look a little different. I picked Wasps Inside the Electric Circus.
This was one of the third albums I was going to pick, but I don't have it.
Definitely a little more commercial sounding, and definitely more of that 80s look to the band, as you can see from the back of the hair and the makeup and Johnny Rod's ridiculous hairdo. But the only problem I have with the album is there's 2 covers on it. So you have I Don't Need No Doctor, which is a great song, and Easy Living from Uriah Heep. I mean, for bands like Blackie, who could really write a good song, to have 2 covers on the album seems pointless. Like you should have much more material than that. But still, I think it's a little let down after the first 2 albums. I like the first 2 albums; it's like a lot better. So,
Yeah, I agreed on all counts. And it's not the only time Blackie put 2 covers on an album. He liked his cover tunes.
Just about every album. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think he's got 2 covers on Still Not Black Enough, and one of the later albums, maybe Babylon, I think has 2 covers on it also. Maybe I might be misremembering that, but yeah, there's a lot of covers. And you're right. I mean, George's originals were so good that he didn't need to lean on the covers that much.
No.
Yeah.
Let's see. Coven, yes, George mentioned, Stay Hungry.
Stay
A
Hungry
bit earlier. So we got the Twisted Sister bass covered.
And spoiler alert, people, Tony, sorry, if you're waiting to drink for me showing Halloween, I thought I'd give everybody a break tonight, and I didn't pull any Halloween. So if someone else did, they'll save you, but not me.
It felt weird picking Keepers Part 2 when we're talking about third albums, so I didn't go there. Because it's number 2, but it's number 3.
Gotcha. You found a very strange loophole, my friend.
That puzzled.
You were looking at me like I had lobsters crawling out of my ears there for a second. All right, so let's go with something that requires.
I didn't pull necroticism either, Simon. Sorry, Alan.
A couple of folks have asked for necroticism, but
we talk about it all the time. Last week, I think we talked, or 2 weeks ago. I don't know. Anyway.
Yep. Yeah, it comes up a lot, so I also tried to avoid some of those that we've discussed a bit, because this was a fun topic where you could pick lots and lots of stuff. Any band that got to 3 albums, you could pick the third album, so it's a cool chance to talk about some different ones that don't fit into other topics. This album could fit into some different topics though. Coroners, No More Color.
Bastard.
Oh,
Yep.
is it in your stack too?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I hadn't played this in a long time. Revisited it, I don't know, a couple of months ago, and yeah, it is a really ripping album. It rivals R.I.P. for my favorite among Coroner albums. Punishment is great. Punishment is like so dense and over the top, it can kind of wear me down a little bit. But this one just super tight. Performances are great across the board. The songs are great. I can just listen. Tommy T. Barron's one of the few players where I would buy an instrumental solo album by the guy just to listen to him shred for 35-40 minutes. Usually that's not something I would want to do, even for guitar players I'm into, but the man is just simply amazing, and he's absolutely on fire here. But yeah, this one it's right up there with, I would usually always say R.I.P. is my favorite from Coroner. Revisiting this one, I'm like, oh geez, I'm not so sure now.
It's close. I'm R.I.P.
really
guy,
is.
but this is a close second. Very close.
It's a really strong second. On the certain days of the week, this one might just win out. So yeah, absolute classic. I need to revisit Mental Vortex next. That one also hasn't gotten played in a long time, so it'll happen maybe by the time we discuss band's fourth albums. We'll see if we get to it. But yeah, if anybody else is kind of this one's been collecting dust on the shelf, brush it off and go back to No More Color. Absolutely, really great tight thrash. It works on every level amazingly.
I gotta say though, another thing I like about this album a lot too is the lyrics got way more emotional and personal. You got no need to be human, read my scars, why it hurts. I just, as a angsty teenager with probably problems, I would read these lyrics and relate to them in some way. I don't know. And mixed with the super technical, they were technical, but they never lost sight of being musical, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. The songs never suffered, even though they were doing insanely cool technical stuff.
Absolutely. Great. All right. Well, I'm going to get to this before George does. I had to pick this. Kiss, Dress to Kill, their third album.
That was on my list.
This to me is, their third album. Their shit isn't selling. They're putting out 2 albums a year because they just need an excuse the label would say, you're out of money. You need another album. You need to get back out on the road. So this is a rushed affair. So much rush that they're pulling Wicked Lester songs. You got She on here, which ends up being a favorite song of mine in the Kiss catalog. That song is so heavy. I've always loved it. And other than Rock and Roll All Night, which is their Iron Maiden song, you have to end a set with Iron Maiden. Iron Maiden does. Well, Kiss has to end a set with Rock and Roll All Night. We're all tired to death of that. That is essentially two songs crammed together. But this to me is a fun Kiss record that not a lot of people pull up as a favorite, which is weird. I think a lot of people go to Destroyer because that's kind of their most popular one. But Room Two-Timer, the Gene songs are weird. Ladies in Waiting, Getaway, Rock Bottom. What a great song. Come On Love Me, Love Her All I Can. This is a short but fun record. It sounds rushed, but there's a lot of energy, and it's just fun. And then you got She on there. So damn heavy. What a great song. Me and George were talking about it beforehand. Kiss, as much as I hate to admit it, is always going to be a favorite band of mine because it's the band that I've been around the longest. I love them and I hate them at the same time, but this era,
a lot of weird choices.
Yep.
That album particularly is more like happy.
Yeah,
Hotter Than Hell was more like, I could put Hotter Than Hell as more like their Sabbath album, very dark, very muddy.
Yeah,
and then their liquor label owner took over production, and it made it happy. But it's like you said, it's such a short album. They even made the length between songs like longer to make the album seem longer.
Yeah, they had to. Yeah,
which was weird. I first heard it. I'm like, what's going on? Is the song missing? But it's like 4, 5, 6, 6. Now the next song pops in. Just
I
weird.
think they got off tour and they heard from the label, and the label said, "You need to do another record." And they're like, "Really? We just got off tour." So they're like scrambling to throw all this stuff together, and crazy. The 70s.
Yeah, 70s. Totally different time.
Totally different time.
All right. This one is this band is made fun of today because they're just way cheesy and over the top. But their first few albums definitely were classics. And Manowar, Hail to England. It's a great album. And at least they're not in the loincloths ready to go have lunch with Fred Flintstone or something. But it's got the classics on there, and Blood on My Enemy is one of my favorite songs ever. And I heard, I don't know if this is true, I heard something that they wrote Bridge of Death as something because they got, I think they toured Mercyful Fate, and they got the inspiration here. So we can write a song like that and wrote Bridge of Death. I don't know how that's true. I read something about that.
Huh.
Why that would be a Mercyful Fate thing, I don't know, but that's what I heard. They wanted to make a real dark, heavier song, and that was a song that they decided to do. How true it is, who knows?
Totally
Definitely didn't have the cheese factor yet. Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah, and dark's a good word to describe that one for sure. The first two Manowar albums are good, and they have a few dark moments on it, but Hail to England, plays into that a little bit more, and it works really well for them.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can't deny the Ross the Boss era. There's something really honest about the music in there. I don't know. I dig it. Even though they tried to be bombastic and over the top at times, it just come from a real place, it sounds to me. They kind of leaned into this larger than life thing when they got the Carl Logan on guitar. They kind of leaned into that oiled warrior thing a bit more.
Well, Ross the Boss is more of a hard rock player because I love his stuff in the Dictators. So definitely sound totally different than they went that whole more metal guitar player with the later guitarists they've had. And the cheese factor came in more.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But I still like the band. I mean, no matter what, they put some goofy stuff out, but some of their later albums are a little hit or miss.
Right.
Yep. That's fair.
Okay, Alan.
All right. Old favorite band of mine. They changed directions a little bit on album number 3. It's Solitude Aeturnus with In the Darkest Hour. The first two albums have a real kind of ethereal quality to them. A big part of that's the vocal delivery, but just the songwriting really has this transcendental quality. It's beautifully done, classic doom metal. But on album number 3, they very much kind of left a lot of that behind and went for something that was just much, much heavier. It's almost like they were like, well, we've done that. Let's see if we can make something that's closer to like Master of Reality style heavy. And you kind of got the, idea of just, again, the band picture on the back told you that, this was not the kind of, era where they were going to be redoing songs like Transcending Sentinels. Here they were doing tracks like Falling, where, the chorus is literally we fall like lead. And he emphasizes it, and it just hits and lands like a ton of bricks. As such, it's a little bit of an outlier in their catalog. It's the only one they did where I felt like they really just zeroed in on being absolutely rock solid heavy as possible. Because the next album after this one gets a bit more eclectic, and the two albums after that get a little bit longer and meandering in ways. The last one, is still kind of very dark, but it's not this just like lead weight kind of heavy and dark that you got on Through the Darkest Hour. It took me a little while to get into this album. When I first got it, I liked it, but it did take a while to process, because even though it's just a very, very heavy doom album, it's they do a few different things along the way. There's at least one track that uses a little bit of like Eastern melodies, and with it all just being this heavy, dark, and dense, it felt like it took a while for individual songs to stand out. But over time, I really like it. It doesn't get mentioned a lot in the Solitude Aeturnus catalog. A lot of folks always want to gravitate back towards, the first two albums, which are absolutely stellar. But this one is a really, really good facet of the band. They're just showing off a different style of doom, that they were capable of making something that was, this, very dark, dense, heavy material, not just the big, classic, epping, soaring kind of doom metal. So, if folks have never checked this one out, worth doing so. If there's a small knock against the album, they did start using this, very lame, oversized logo at this period, which not going to go down as one of the great metal logos in history.
All right. Well, George mentioned Blood of My Enemies is his favorite song by Manowar. Well, that song is on this album. Edge of Sanity's The Spectral Sorrows. They covered Blood of My Enemies, and Dan sings it all in pitch voice and crushes it. This is a great album. I really love Unorthodox. That's the first Edge of Sanity I ever heard. The first album is a little weak to me. They got better as they went up to a certain point. But on here, this is a very sharp, really well produced, excellent Swedish death metal, but then you throw in clean vocals with Blood of My Enemies. You've got the Sisters of Mercy, Not of Appreciation on the track Sacrifice, where it's a drum machine. And it sounds like a Sisters of Mercy song. There's just a bit of variety is starting to seep into Edge of Sanity. You can tell Dan is getting a bit tired of just straight up death metal all the time, and which the Purgatory Afterglow afterwards starts to experiment a little bit more with prog and some other ideas here. Tracks like Black Tears, kind of rocking, groovy style of death metal. The funny thing is, the more they experimented on this stuff, it just worked. Somehow it felt cohesive to me. It kept the albums a bit exciting, not knowing what was going to come next. They definitely came a long way from Nothing But Death Remains. There's definitely one of those bands that progressed in kind of a decent, respectful way. And, and then like albums like Crimson are just a prog death metal masterpiece. So there was an end goal here, but Spectral Sorrows, third full-length album by Edge of Sanity. It's great. It's great from the sound all the way down to the songs. Big fan.
They finally reissued them, and the originals are cheaper than the reissues. Screw
Yeah, I
that.
know. Century Media, I don't know what the hell that they're smoking over there, but they want to make production costs go up. They don't want to cut their profits down, so that they raise them up.
Yeah.
I don't know. Whatever.
Like, hey,
I
you
don't know.
sick of paying like, $28-$30 for old Edge of Sanity CDs? Well, here you can get a brand new copy of it for $22.99 plus shipping.
Yeah. But it has a bonus disc. But there's a bonus disc, so
it's the shipping.
Oh,
that
a
gets
bonus
you.
disc, yay!
What do you say, George?
It's the shipping that gets you.
Yeah,
The shipping does not help. Nope.
doesn't help.
No.
All right, you're up, sir.
All right. So this one, the band who definitely changed their sound pretty much almost every album. First album was very thrashy. The second album feels like it was like the same song every time. But the third album, I think they hit it under the black mark. Still my favorite one by them. The Return to me seems like people like that. I'm not gonna say it together. It seems very messy and very
yeah.
It's like this. I listen. This is the same song I just heard with different lyrics. To me, that's what it sounds like to me. I mean, I could be wrong. But that's what it sounds like. But this one, I think, just sounds like a coherent, like blueprint for what black metal became.
Yep.
So got the evil cover and all that stuff. Got great tunes on it. He definitely changes. Quorthon did a lot of different stuff over his time, but before he became the Viking metal, this was definitely the black metal vein. So definitely top notch album.
Agreed. It's definitely the best of the first three, in my opinion. I think.
Yeah. I want to argue that, but I probably can't.
I mean, I like all three of them, but that one there just seems more. I mean, the Return is just it. George is right. It's a mess. It's messy,
is,
but that's part of the charm of it. The evil, the untamed evil vibe of it. But yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I like the Return a lot, but yeah, no, it's it's a thing. No, again, I can't really argue the point. Let's see. Let's do a newer album. This is just from. Geez, was this last year or the year before? I want to say it was last year. Crypt Sermons, the Stygian Rose, with an incredibly darkly printed CD cover.
Yeah,
I'll take it out of the case. It's not going to help much. There we go. We can see a little bit of detail here. So yeah, third album for this band, and this was sort of a big breakthrough for them. Made a ton of top 10 lists at the end of last year. Got really strong reviews in a lot of different metal outlets, and I'm really happy to see it. It's a very good project. They're have doom epic traditional metal components all spliced together, and it is a really good album. My only real complaint, besides the cover just being too damn dark, is that I do feel like maybe the sophomore album was slightly better than this one. This one doesn't have anything really wrong with it, but I just feel like this one takes a little while to get going, whereas the second one comes out of the gates really, really strong. But yeah, Stygian Rose, huge album from just a year or two ago, and has really helped put the band on the map and expose them to a much wider audience, hoping that they'll be able to continue to build on that. They do have an EP out this year. I glanced at it when it was released, but it's a little odd because it is an EP. I'm pretty sure it's got at least one cover song, or maybe it's a reworked track from an old album. There's at least one song that felt like a little bit of a throwaway. I was like, maybe this is the kind of thing I'll just buy digitally. And it's not really available digitally. They put it on Bandcamp, but they did that stupid thing where they want $666 for the digital album. It's just like, why do bands and labels do that? It's like, you really, really, really want me to buy the physical copy that bad? I don't like being forced in a certain direction. The whole point is to let me choose which way I want to buy it. And if you're just going to absolutely take one option off the table, it's just like, I don't think I need to spend $30 for your EP when I wasn't planning to spend it. So a little ticked about that. That's probably more of a label decision than the band decision, though. But the Stygian Rose, And this is a band that is using their third album to really kind of, springboard up a level for sure. And I hope things continue to go well for them, despite my misgivings about the availability of this EP.
Okay. Good pick. We go negative again. Let's go positive. Third album. After a very long break and breaking up, Mercyful Fate returned with In the Shadows.
Ah, nice.
With a mostly fully reunited lineup. They couldn't get the drummer Kim Ruz to rejoin the band, who was a fantastic drummer. Great pick, great drummer for Mercyful Fate. But oh God, who played on this? I don't remember. It doesn't matter. Yeah, I'm very excited about this and love the cover artwork. It's different. And they got back together and they actually did a really good job on this record. The song Shadows, a Gruesome Time. Both of those songs are really good standouts in their catalog. Egypt, of course, was the hit single off the album. I don't know. King, it got to a point where King was doing both King Diamond and Mercyful Fate as they went on, that both bands kind of started to suffer. Hadn't started here yet. Right here, you still have, one of the world's best guitar duos ever with Hank Sherman and Michael Denner back together, and they complement each other so well. And granted, with the modern, I think this is recorded in Texas, with more modern studio production techniques, they lost a bit of that mysticism that was on the first couple albums, I think, anyway. And even the first, couple King Diamond records had that mysticism to them too, because they weren't recording all digitally yet. And once things started to switch over to digital, they kind of sterilized that mysticism right away. But this is a good record. I was happy. I had pretty high expectations. Was I blown away by the record? No, but I was very happy, and I thought it was a very solid effort for a band that had been on ice for so many years. What did you guys think of this when it came out?
I thought it was a really good one. Egypt's a great song. I think Snowy Shaw is the drummer.
Is he? Okay.
That's what it says in the liner notes, whether he really was or not.
He got gypped out of a lot of. He was often named. Yeah, he's in the liner notes. Yeah.
But yeah, I would
in the
agree
liner
with
notes
y'all.
of the eye too, but that was a drum machine. Anyway, go ahead.
I would agree with y'all that it was obviously an album where there was a ton riding on it. People were very amped, but had very big expectations. But it seemed like most people were pretty happy with it upon release. I don't remember anybody in my little limited circle being like, "Oh, this sucks." People were actually like, "Yeah, this is pretty cool." So it seemed to get the job done.
Yep. Mission accomplished.
Definitely.
All right, George.
All right. This one again, probably like my favorite album from this this guitar player who the album cover definitely fits his ego.
Someone just mentioned that one. Yep, in the chat.
But it's a great album. I mean, his first three albums are really his best ones I think he put out ever.
Agreed. Yeah,
probably.
Yeah. The fourth one. I like the one Joel Aeturnus. It's a good album. More commercial. This one's leaning that way, but it's got some great tunes on. Of course, You Don't Remember, You Never Forget is the one you always see. It was on MTV a lot, but I love Queen in Love and Liar and all the songs. I think every song is great on it. There's no bad songs on it. Definitely never put an album not as good as this anymore. I mean, he had hit or miss albums. I have almost all his albums until he started singing. Then I said, that's the end of that. Because I don't need to hear Yngwie singing.
Yeah.
Because he just, that shows his ego completely out of control. But that's him. It's still
nice choice.
A fine album.
Nick says we need a jigsaw puzzle of that.
That's pretty cool.
All right. Ellen, what's the matter?
All right. Go with old favorite. One of my favorite bands. This album does not get talked about very much, though. It is the third Cirith Ungol album, One Foot in Hell. This was my first Ungol album, so maybe, again, there's some bias there, but I think this one is an absolute monster of a record. most people always want to gravitate towards King of the Dead. And King of the Dead is a great album, but this one's a more ferocious sounding album. It's definitely heavier, faster, a bit angrier. So it's like, yeah, okay, I get it if maybe some people just like that one a little better, but it's like they bypass this album completely. Maybe it's the cover art. It's not the best piece of artwork the band used. It's a little weird.
Is that the guy from Noble Savage on the cover? Or the Noble Savage right there? Is that him?
Hey, he did. He's kind of in the background there. He's had to, he's lifted the sword and he's got a helm on, but actually maybe it's his cousin Sven. I'm not sure. So it's also kind of weird that you just have like the band name and title just as one straight line across the top. There's no, the logo is not here. The little praying skeleton, icon isn't on here anywhere. So maybe aesthetically there's just reasons people bypass this one, but it's a monster of a record. Just crushing. It starts out just with like one of the best beginnings. I missed the episode last week with y'all doing intro tracks. Had I been here, I absolutely would have picked this one for the opener, Blood and Iron, because there's no lead in whatsoever. It's just like, and then they're screaming at you full force immediately, and the song never lets up. The album gives you no chance to adjust to what's going to happen to you. And yeah, just heavy, dark stompers, Doomed Planet, Nadsakar. It's it's kind of the most metal of the Cirith Ungol albums. I think all their stuff, of course, is pretty much top notch. It just always kind of bugs me that people don't put this album on the same tier as, say, Frost and Fire or King of the Dead. It absolutely deserves to be on that same tier of albums. So yes, if you're one of those folks that just never got into One Foot in Hell, you bypassed it because it's like, I don't know if I want an album with a giant green bug sitting in a chair on the cover. Get over it and go check this one out, because it is absolutely prime Cirith Ungol.
I like that one way better than King of the Dead.
Yeah, King. At first, I agreed. I thought this one was way better. King of the Dead, it definitely grew on me with time. I think it's close now, but I would still pick this one over King of the Dead myself. Yep. And Sunday, okay, that's very cool that you dig the cover. I don't mind the cover. I can just see where maybe some folk, compared to some of the other pieces of artwork they got, maybe it's not the best. The cover art for King of the Dead is, much, much better than this one with the bug.
All right. Here we go. Little negativity. Sorry. Wow. Take it in. Even the cover's bad. You got the Dracula font.
Wow.
The movie was out, I think, around this time. What year did this come out? Is it on the back? 1994? I don't know.
That's some prime Anne Rice years right there.
Yep.
Don't know for sure if the years line up, but it's in the vein.
I saw this on the shelf.
Vein. I'm subtle tonight.
Yeah. I saw this on the shelf. I'm thinking, awesome. New Atrocity. The Longing for Death album. Fantastic. Great album. Hallucinations. Great record. This album is an absolute abortion. It just is. The first, it's just, what the hell? Krull. Alex Krull's voice. He's not death growling at all. He's doing like this Fozzie Bear type of B-L-U-T. Terrible singing.
That is not what Fonzie Bear sounds like.
Well,
that's like Fonzie Bear if his balls dropped and he was drunk.
He had a vampire.
Waka, I'll kick your ass.
But yep, and then you get to track 5. First of all, you just wonder what the hell's going on with the change. It doesn't make any sense. And then they get to I'm in Darkness, track 5, and it's actually a blast beat. His voice gets a little more gruff again. The album picks up and gets a slight bit better, but that really is not saying much. And I don't know why I've hung on to this so many years, other than Collector Scum, completist. Got to have course, after this, I never bought another Atrocity album. And I've heard they've gotten good again, which I find it hard to believe. Flozzie Bear After Hours, exactly. Thanks, Daryl. But yeah, this was a humongous disappointment. The what the hell moment for sure. Bands that change their sound just randomly for no reason. They've got a clear trajectory. The first album sounds like Floridian death metal. Second album is excellent European death metal. Third album, gothic, bad gothic with a poor singer. It's just hot garbage. They lost the plot. Alex Kroll, what were you thinking? All right, George, you're back.
I am surprised you still have that.
I am surprised I still have that.
This
Who
one
would
is
buy it? Who would buy it? Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
it's okay. This one is another band that changed their whole look and to a very strange style that worked for them, and they ran with it, and it worked. Running Wild,
Great
whole
choice.
pirate metal thing. Like, I don't know where they thought, let's do metal about pirates, but it works. And this is a great album, and they went with it, and that was their career now,
Yeah.
pretty much. You know,
Yeah.
pretty much. So they have that. What's that other band that tries to sound like them? Was it Ailstorm?
Ooh,
It's doing the same kind of thing.
yeah.
But Running Wild did it first. It does it better.
Way better. Not even a contest. Yeah.
No.
Yep. Yeah. I think the story was that the band had come back. They'd had that really bad U.S. tour, and the label owner Walter Bach. One of his kind of things was he always wanted each band on the label to have like a different kind of gimmick, to help differentiate them. He didn't want 5 bands that were all just kind of generic looking metal bands. So I think he was kind of on Ralph to you guys need something more unique, and the tour had gone badly, and Ralph had gone and seen some, it was some pirate movie. I don't think it was like a new movie release. It was just some older classic one. He was just like, pirates, you say? And just something about the movie kind of clicked with him. He was like, we could do that, and he took it, and the band was off and running with it.
The Pirates of Penzance.
I don't remember which one it was that he watched supposedly, but it just caught on, and it did cost him some fans. There's always been some folks who thought it was too cheesy, but no, I agree with you. It works brilliantly, and obviously 40 years later they're still doing it.
Yep. All right. And still playing shows. I saw a recent-ish show there. They still sound good. I wish they would record with a drummer. That really needs to needs to be a thing. I understand why he's not doing it, because it's more convenient, easier to manage, already out of the box sounds, but yeah. Makes the albums feel a bit sterile.
Rolf has always had a reputation of not being the easiest fellow in Germany to work with, so that may just be part of it too. It may have may have run out of drummers willing to sign on.
Right. All right, Alan.
All right. Another newer one from the past couple of years. Weird band from Washington area, but I kind of dig their gimmick. The band is Zoth, and the album is called Exogalactic.
Cool.
You can kind of get from the logo that, yes, they're going for kind of the sci-fi, cosmic horror, Lovecraftian things with way too many tentacles coming out of the cosmos to kind of just piss in your Cheerios for the day. Exogalactic's a really good album. The band's style is an odd mix of there's death metal, there's thrash metal. The death metal is definitely on the melodic side, by the way, but it works really quite well. The second album is really, really good too. It's Interdimensional Invocations, which is a name that it's really easy to trip over. I did not like the debut album. I thought on the debut it came across as really half-baked. They didn't quite have it worked out yet. But yeah, albums 2 and 3 have been really fun ones and hold up pretty well to repeat listens. So yeah, if you like, the sci-fi kind of stuff that a lot of bands have gravitated towards in recent years, and you want something that feels thrashy but also leans into some melodic death and even just some traditional metal thrown in the blender for good measure. Zoth is a very cool project. So this is a band. Album number 3 for them seems to be, it did fine. It didn't really break through for the band. So I'm hoping they do not get discouraged and they take another shot at it, because I think they do have a really, really cool sound. Let's see. Yes, Ryan's into Zoth. Absolutely. Ryan's always got excellent taste. I'm not surprised Ryan is a Zoth fan.
Okay. Well, Aeturnus, Shadows of Old, their third album. I'm a humongous fan of So the Night Became and Beyond the Wandering Moon. Absolute classics in Norwegian whatever metal. The debate still rages on. But here on Shadows of Old, although this is a pretty decent album, they start to lean into the brutal death metal side, and which they continue on. They go full on into it after the Burning the Shroud EP, or maybe that came before this. I don't remember the timeline, but
They're around the same time. Yeah,
it gets a little redundant, and they kind of took the thing that was special about their band and threw it in the trash, and they kind of went on with just American style brutal death metal, not like the New York style, but just the more aggressive. There's more of an aggressive American sound here, and it made them very standard. It made them just another kind of faceless band in the crowd. So though this has got some moments on it, it's a pretty good record. It was kind of a bad stylistic shift, which is sad because there isn't really any lineup changes, I don't think, yet. Raven would eventually leave the band, and that's when they would go full on death metal. But thankfully, the band, they came back with the album Heathen, and it's in the old vein, and their latest album Philosopher is really good in the old vein as well. Is it as good? Right? Does it rival the first two albums in the EP? Maybe not, but it could have been albums 3 and 4 for sure. It would have been the sensible progression. So yeah, I had to show this. I haven't spun this record in a while, but I remember being very disappointed when it came out, and even more so as they progressed.
Yeah, you said it perfectly, Marty. They had something really special and unique, and they traded it in for like the most generic sound imaginable.
Flavor of the month.
They did fine, but it's like I can listen to 100 bands do this. Yeah. I could only listen to one band do, Beyond the Wandering Moon.
Right.
Maybe 2. Maybe Hades or someone is close enough.
Yeah. All right, George.
All right. I'm curious what you guys thought about this album when it came out, because the first 2 albums are very, very death metal, and then they became kind of death and roll.
Oh yeah.
Good record.
I liked the album. I mean, this turned me onto the band, but then I went back and their first album sounds nothing like it. And the second album was nothing like it either, but just thought this was just good metal. It didn't really sound like, I didn't know it really was death metal. It didn't really sound too deathy, I guess. Maybe just harsher vocals, more in the group style, I guess, because the whole Pantera thing kind of took over. A lot of bands tried to sound like that whole group thing. So, but I think it's a fine album. Too many good songs on here.
Go ahead. Didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's like too many good songs that I mentioned, like the Wolverine Blues, which is like, I think, a 2-minute song. The songs aren't very long.
Yeah.
But definitely a great tune. Sorry, what were you going to say now?
I was going to say it amazes me how influential Entombed were twice in their career. They Left Hand Path kind of inspired this whole movement of, HM2 Swedish death metal, and then Wolverine Blues, that came out, and a whole legion of bands switched away from death metal and went groovy. Even bands like Grave and Desultory and Furble, a bunch of other bands in the realm that completely followed suit. It's a sign of good songwriting, a sign of an important band for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that one is a very fun album.
It is.
Yeah, it's one I think I enjoy it more like overall than trying to break it down song by song. But yeah, it's the thing you can put on, play in the background. It's really fun.
All right, Alan.
All right, we'll go back to the phone because I don't have a copy of this one currently. Phoned it in the past, but Law's Rocket, Know Your Enemy. This one's kind of a little bit of a style change for the band. The first two albums, yeah, a little bit more in U.S. power metal territory. This one, the band's definitely going, more head on into the thrash realm. They had their own mascot, this kind of, G.I. Joe with a skunk mullet kind of wannabe haircut.
Lundgren looking like.
Yeah, it's not a bad album. And Lost Rocket always just seemed to be one of those bands perennially stuck on the second tier. And I've noticed over time doesn't seem to have been kind to them. They often now seem to be a band that a lot of folks are willing to knock down to maybe third tier, which I don't think they deserve that kind of fate. I get it that, okay, they're not Metallica, they're not Megadeth, they're not Metal Church, but, the album... one of the albums before this I like, one I don't. City's Gonna Burn is good. No Stranger to Danger I have a little issue with. But yeah, both Know Your Enemy and the follow-up, Annihilation Principle, they are reasonable second-tier thrash albums. They didn't reinvent the wheel whatsoever, but I did enjoy a lot of the songs on them. They were a product of the time. They did the style fine. May have just been in part that the scene was very, very crowded by the time they were there, so that Law's Rocket just never were able to really make themselves stand out in a crowd. But yeah, if you happened into it as just like a cheap pickup or just the random thing that caught your eye when you were at Camelot when you were 15 years old, or you saw one of the videos on Headbangers Ball, just like I can get into that. That's what got me with the band. They had a video for Fire in the Hole, which was off Annihilation Principle. It's just like, I will buy that the next time I get to a city with an actual record store in it. And I did. So yeah, not a band I've gone back to for a while, but better than some other, second tier bands that they might get thrown in with. So yeah, I figured this is, again, the kind of topic where you can throw a little love towards Law's Rocket. They're not going to fit into every particular showcase we do, but album number 3 here is a decent one. I also, for bonus points, got to bring this one up in high school English class because they did have a song on here called The Most Dangerous Game, based on the short story, which we had to read like in 11th grade English or something. So I'm like, hey, there's a band that made that into a song. And the English teacher was one of those cool people that you could then bring it in. She'd play that kind of thing for the class. Oh, that's neat. So yeah, we got to showcase Law's Rocket in 11th grade English.
That's cool.
Cool. I actually have a 2 CD copy of that has got your name on it now. Now that you're showing it on the phone, you don't have a physical. I'll get that off to you.
Oh, cool. Thanks. Yeah,
Yep.
I haven't. I had that. I know what happened. I had it on cassette, and when I got rid of all my cassettes, I never ended up getting a CD copy of it. So nice. Thank you.
Yep.
We'll give it a good home.
Right on. All right. Talk about a band that started to, they always had a bit of a groove to them, but it got even more so. I don't know if it was Entombed impacted this band or not, but Austria's Pungent Stench, their third album, Club Mondo Bizarre, for members only. This band started to get really weird around this time. They kind of leaned into, they were always very morbid and strange, but they started to lean into the sexual deviance type of stuff. Nice little bulldog on the back there. I'm not going to fold out the cover because that monkey's doing some bad things to a lady.
Oh my God.
That's not a sick little monkey. That's a horny little monkey.
That is exactly. But yeah, I mean, I messed around with this album a little while after I bought it, but it just does not hold up like Been Caught Buttering or For God Your Soul, For Me Your Flesh. They're definitely a weird band. They kind of, at this point in the game, they're just doing whatever the hell they want. They're just trying to be strange and weird and mixed with the sexual deviance. I mean, I'm a Family Man. I mean, you can kind of guess where that's going to go. Choke Just for a Joke, Clister Boogie. I mean, yeah, I don't know. It just, I didn't like really the direction they took. And, but but you can't take the first 2 albums away from me. But here, they got weird, and soon after they broke up. So I guess the writing was on the wall for them.
Yeah. I'm not surprised. I mean, I don't know a ton of the band's history, but they always did seem like a band that was definitely going to like jump the shark and just get too weird at some point.
Yeah. I mean, really, what kind of market are they trying to, like G.G. Allen meets death metal meets groove metal meets who knows what? I don't know.
Yeah, just being weird and extreme for the sake of being weird and extreme, almost.
What do you mean you're not going to play our videos on MTV? Why? Why?
Yeah. We'll come at you like a spider monkey. Yeah.
They're back together and still active. So, and I think the singer guy has got his own version of Pungent Stench as well. I don't know.
Oh, is it one of those things where there's
it's
like
one of those
2 versions?
factions where they split?
That always annoys me. It's like, geez. Oh well.
Yep.
Yeah, I revisited the debut. I don't know, sometime within the past several months. I hadn't heard it in forever. It's really, really good. I kind of completely blanked on it. Just like, oh wow, yeah, I should play this more often.
Good stuff. All right, George.
All right. Well, this one to me is a bit of a letdown after the first 2 albums were really good, but never was a big fan of When the Storm Comes Down from Flotsam and Jetsam.
I got that in a bargain bin on tape for $1. Yeah.
For $1.
For $1.
I think I gave 2.
It's not the good tunes on it. I don't like the production on it at all.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's what hinders it is production, and just the songs just aren't there. It's just it changed a little bit too much. I guess getting a little more aggressive, I guess, in their sound. But it's got because Suffer the Madness is a great song. 666 is a good song, but it's not as horrible. It's just that it's after the first 2, I thought it was just a bit of a downer.
Mm-hmm.
And Quattro wasn't much better.
Yeah.
Their newer albums are fantastic, but
see,
bands got to experiment too.
I need to check that because so many people I respect their opinions or saying how good they are now. I just from the album you just shown on, I'm just like I can't believe it because they got really boring, really bland as they went along. Their first 2 albums are great. I thought they were great records, but I don't know. And that cover, can we discuss that cover for a minute? You want to talk about last minute? Oh shit, we forgot to get a cover art done for our new album. Well, we can't use the red skull because we'll get sued by Marvel. So let's make it green. Let's use this sweet ass font and just put it over the whole thing because we know the cover sucks.
I mean, and they were on a major by that point too. So I mean, that's not a budget problem. That's just a choice.
The MCA Records, huh? They had the money. They could have hired an artist.
But yeah, well, Metallica is doing really well. Let's sign this Flotsam and Jetsam band. Oh wait, they don't sell like Metallica. Oh no, their budget probably wasn't that. There probably wasn't an open checkbook. We'll keep it there.
Could be. Sure. Yeah, but now George makes a good point. There are some good tracks on that album, but there's also some not so good tracks, and the production's not helping. The cover art's not helping. There are things holding that album down.
Yep. Okay, Alan.
All right, one more new wave of British heavy metal entry. If folks are still up for that one. Diamond Head, everyone always talks about Lightning to the Nations. In their original run, they did get to album number 3. It's called Canterbury. The name alone should give you pause. Heavy metal band making an album called Canterbury. And then you see the cover art. This would also give you cause to pause. It's kind of a dark greenish color. It's not showing up very well on screen here. It's kind of a weird album. I have not played it in forever. Diamond Head's albums is a weird case. A lot of people would say they were the most talented band on the new wave of British heavy metal scene. And Lightning to the Nations, is a classic with good reason. But it took them a long time to get signed. They ended up on MCA So, yeah, MCA committing some crimes here.
Maybe his MCA art director just didn't know what good art was, and he's like, "You guys, I got this idea for your cover art."
Maybe
You saw
so.
my work with Flotsam and Jetsam, right?
Yeah, now, they did get a nice piece of cover art for their debut on MCA, which was Borrowed Time. Let's jump over to that one for a second. This one had a pretty cool cover. I forget the artist's name, but he did some really nice fantasy stuff at times.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah. The problem with this album, though, is several of the tracks are just redos of things that had been in the band's catalog forever. Because again, they'd been around for several years. They'd already, done Lightning to the Nations. They had multiple singles and EPs. And the track list here is, let's see, you've got Lightning to the Nations is back on it. Am I Evil is back on it. There's only 7 tracks. It's like, you've had all this time waiting to finally get your big deal and your big break. And when you release the album, there's only like 4 or 5 new songs on it. So it felt very weird, but, it did well enough to at least get them the extension for the 3rd album. But the Canterbury album, you can just tell their heart is not in heavy metal anymore. They always kind of associated themselves more with like the Led Zeppelin side of 70s hard rock. And it's not that this is a Zeppelin sounding album. You can just tell that they're ready to go in different directions. They're experimenting with some different stuff. I'm not going to say the album sucks. It's just not particularly interesting. For a band that was doing tracks, like It's Electric and Am I Evil, here they've just wandered way off into the British countryside, and you knew they were not coming back. You hear this album for the first time, you're like, yep, I know why there's not a 4th album. Until, ages later when there's a reunion. So yeah, Diamond Head really does feel like one of those bands, that just missed the mark. If they had gotten signed right off the bat, like in 81, and had a label, that really, pushed them, maybe management that, helped them, foster the songwriting when they were really hot, they would have been incredible. As it is, you got a lot of great stuff from them early, but yeah, albums 2 and album 3 just, always felt a bit disappointing. So yeah, the sad tale of Diamond Head this week on Behind the Music.
You got to also state that a reunion bought and paid for by Metallica.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, they've made more money from those Metallica checks than they ever made with all their releases and tours.
Which is crazy if you think about it. It's freaking crazy.
It kind of is. And if nothing else, I mean, at the same time, obviously Metallica did something good for Diamond Head. Diamond Head did something good for Metallica. This was the band that, when Lars flew over to the UK to kind of, check out the scene and stuff, Diamond Head was the band he crashed with. Diamond Head was the band he, basically got to, go on tour with for about a month. And when he came back to LA, that's when he was really serious about making Metallica into a thing, not just a, for fun project where me and James are fucking around in the garage. He came back with a better understanding of what it was going to take, and he applied that. If he had gone over there and, Sean and the guys in Diamond Head had told me, fuck off, we're not bothering with you, you might never have had Metallica become a thing. And think about how that completely rewrites the entire history of heavy metal.
Yeah.
So, yeah, even though Diamond Head never became, giant things themselves, they did the nice little things, took them under their wing, kind of let them, again, travel with them, show them some of the ropes. And that, that paid off in ways absolutely nobody could ever have expected. So, Good for you, Diamond Head. You were good Samaritans, and metal benefited as a result.
Right.
I was watching some documentary on New Wave British heavy metal, and they said that around the time Diamond Head, with their management was Sean Harris's mom and his boyfriend, and Foreigners management wanted to manage them, and they said no.
Yeah,
It could have been a totally different ball game if they would have said, "Okay, we'll go with it." And they could have been a whole different band too. Who knows what direction they would have thrown them into?
Yeah, it's a weird kind of goofy story. You're right, George. That they had family members acting as management, which obviously they had best interests in mind, but they weren't really band managers. It was family stuff, and they made some bad choices that held the band up for way too long. Sad but true. So kids, don't let your mom or her boyfriend manage your heavy metal band. Unless they're actually like, a professional manager, maybe.
Yeah. All right. Let's get this lone record out of the way here. Troubles, Run to the Light.
I figured you'd pick this one. Yep.
I picked it too.
I love the first two albums, and I really like the self-titled as well. But this album, again, this thing is special to me. I see moments of Psalm 9 and the Skull is kind of disjointed in some of the songwriting. It's great. I love their sound. I love Eric's voice. But on here, the music really kind of congealed. There was a lot more atmosphere on this. The lyrics, again, they felt very personal, kind of pretty sad record. This is where they really kind of lean into the doom a bit. And man, this is my favorite Trouble record, easily. And I haven't spun it in a while either. Pulling it off the shelf, I'm like, why haven't I spun this in a while? This was a favorite when I was a teenager. What the hell year did this come out? Not even 87. Yep. Wore the tape out for sure. Look at the price I picked that record up for. $2.99, New Moon Records.
That'll work. Very nice.
Those days are long gone. Long gone.
Yep.
But yep. This is a band that got better. They really started to figure out writing better, more cohesive songs. Of course, Eric Wagner, always a great, unique voice, and rest in peace.
Yeah, definitely.
George.
All right. Third album, third singer, definitely went for that and Justice for All feel to the sound. Onslaught.
I still have not heard that album other than a couple tracks. I'm going to hunt it down one of these days.
Huh.
It's not bad. Steve Grimm does a good job, but definitely doesn't sound like the last, especially the fourth, which is really their classic. And I like the first album too. It's just the first was very different. And this one's just more commercial. They went, let's work for Metallica. Let's do the same thing. And the songs are really long, like 12 minutes, 8 minutes. And their single for this was Let There Be Rock.
Yeah.
The cover song. That was their single.
Yeah.
Like, why? I see if you put on the album, that's fine. But to make that your lead single for the album to sell, I don't get the choice in the. I don't know who picks the choice in singles. I guess management does. I don't know who picks the.
Who knows?
What you're gonna pick for? Yeah, the string.
Yeah. The only thing I can think of, George, because you're right, it's a really weird choice. One issue that album has, and especially true if you're trying to pick another single, most of the songs on that album are a little too long. They're all like 6-7 minutes.
Yeah, true. Good point.
Which is a bit long for a single. And I like that a lot of the songs on that album, but they all need to be trimmed by about 2 minutes. It just takes too long to get. There's not enough going on in the songs to support 6.5, 7 minutes track after track after track.
Okay. I don't think a thrash song should be 12 minutes long anyway.
No.
Yeah. No, it's not a bad album though. I liked it a lot.
No.
In the day when I had it.
All right, Alan, what you got?
All right, this one's been sitting here for a while, so let's talk Catatonia, album number 3, Discouraged Ones. The transition album for them. The first two are more death doom. Here, the vocals get clean. They kind of blown out the vocal cords on album number 1. You had Mike Ackerfeld step in to hold down the fort for album 2. And on this one, Ackerfeld's not around anymore, but they go with a much cleaner vocal style. And this really starts to establish the sound that would make them famous, at least by metal standards. They really start to get
Yeah.
into that, more the dreary, gray, sad, gloomy, rainy day, kind of gothy, more real rock structured songs. This one I really like though, because it still has some real strands of darkness running through it. In the lyrics, just and some of the heavier guitar tones are still there. So yeah, this one has always held up well. The picture on the back cover I thought always, sort of represented the music and the sound on this very well. Just empty house, dusty, faded. Sunlight's coming in, but it's kind of bleak looking nevertheless. They kind of they followed up on this sound, but to me it always seemed like each successive album just strayed further away from being heavy and spent more time kind of wallowing in the sad boy side of it. That's probably not the most fair rundown. It's been a long time since I've revisited some of the albums that came after this. They just never connected. They never had the emotional impact that Discouraged ones had. This is one that is a real, it will bring you down album. There's literally a track on here where like Saw You Drown, where they're just like, it feels like they're just dragging you down with them.
Yep.
So for me, it's the last Essential Catatonia album. They are a band I've been meaning to go back and spend some more time with, because it's been a long time since I bought those. A problem back in the day with albums like what's the one that came after this? The blue one with the train track.
Tonight's Decision.
Yeah, one problem with those albums too. Now I can see this in hindsight. They weren't easy to get at the time. At least some of those I had to pay import prices for, and they weren't good enough to justify an import price tag. So that probably was part of why I didn't get. It was just like, I paid $25 for this. It's not $25 good. So maybe if I go back and listen to them now, that I can listen to it for free thanks to the internet. Maybe I'll have a better reaction to some of that stuff 20 years later. We'll see if we get around to it. But Discouraged Ones is one I've had it forever, and it still gets a play, from time to time for sure.
Right on. Okay, well, third album, and this is one I like quite a bit. You get the Archaic Course from Borknagar.
Oh yeah, good album.
For me, Borknagar, their first album, I love it. It's just that traditional Norwegian black metal sound, super group, so to speak. And then Olden Domain, pretty good. Garm's voice, I didn't love his performance on it, to be honest. The music, the production, little things kind of bugged me about that one. Then ICS Vortex, Seaman Hessness, or however you say his last name, I don't know. But he kind of came into the spotlight. He had a band, kind of a doom band called Lamented Souls, which was kind of unheard of. But he kind of made his presence known on the second full-length Arcturus album. He did a vocal appearance on the track called The Chaos Path, where he was just like a circus singer. He sounded crazy all over the place, just very inspired and full of energy and a unique way of singing. Well, Borknagar picked him up, made him, I think he was the bass player on this as well, a full member. His voice is great. Absolutely fantastic talent. Very interesting way of phrasing. He can do the harsh black metal screams, and his clean singing is just very adventurous. He takes a lot of chances, and he's got a very wild range, which is a lot of fun. So yeah, this album did really well. It seemed a lot more consistent and a little bit more focused in the songwriting than the Olden Domain did to me. But yeah, and I didn't pick Fish Cult. I showed Enslaved Eld last week for first song, so I wasn't going to grab it again. So many things that I should have shown tonight that I didn't, because I just didn't want to keep talking about the same stuff over and over. But Archaic Course, Borknagar. Haven't talked about this one since we did the dive with
Melanie and Jimmy was in on that one too.
Yeah, Jimmy. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's a cool album. It's funny because that album does not get the best reviews on Metal Archives.
It's weird.
I'm always surprised how down people are on that album because it was really talked up and hyped a lot when it came out, but it doesn't seem to have aged well with a certain segment of the audience.
Yep.
I'm
weird.
with you. I think it's still really, really good.
Yeah. All right, George, you're back.
I like we guys are all picking albums I never heard of, which is great because now I got more stuff to bring into the house my wife will love.
On vinyl, George.
On vinyl.
Green lit. It's green lit. Tell her I need another wing of the house for my vinyl collection. Honey.
I'll need another house.
Yeah. Living room. It's the living room. Living/music room.
This was in a living room for 20 years till my daughter moved out and I took my son's room. So she was so happy to get it out of the living room. Tell you that. Anyway, this one, third album, new singer. Definitely didn't really change the sound, but did give it a little bit different direction. So Metal Church.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely Mike Howe comes in and just definitely different singer than David Wayne, but not really too different. Sort of great voice and songs are a little bit longer, especially after the Strange. A great tune there.
Yeah.
I definitely added something more to the band. I mean, how would you categorize Metal Church? They're not really a thrash band. They started with a thrash and now they're power metal.
U.S. power metal band.
Yeah, just good. Yeah, traditional metal. You're right. People often want to put them in that thrash bin where they can lean towards that, but yeah, they never seem like a great fit for thrash.
The first album more so, I think.
Yeah, if you were going to, that would make sense to do with the debut. But yeah, Fake Healer is such a good song on that album.
Oh God,
that song just crushes.
Yes.
But you're right. Some of the songs do run a little too long on that one.
But having said that, I remember being utterly shocked getting that record and be like, what is happening? It sounded like a completely different band with Mike on vocals. But once you get past that point, he's a fantastic singer. And then seeing some videos of him live back in the day, he could pull off the Wayne shit live. So he was a sensible replacement. And he also had different qualities to his voice that could pull them in a more expansive metal direction, I think.
Definitely.
The dark is definitely the thrashes. Go ahead.
Do you guys like the new singer?
It was all right.
He's not a bad vocalist. The albums he's on just aren't my favorite in their catalog. So, but it's not him that's holding back. I just felt like the songs just weren't quite as strong as some of the ones they did, especially with Howe.
Yeah.
And with Wayne, the early ones.
All right. Where are we at here? Alan. Good pick, George. Good one. All right.
Let's do this one. I've had it on the phone for a while. Everyone talks about other Autopsy albums, but Acts of the Unspeakable doesn't always come up a ton. But it's still a pretty solid album. It's different-ish, but it's not. The band hasn't jumped the shark or anything. This isn't shit fun yet. It's not Mental Funeral either, but it's somewhere in between, and I can still dig what they're doing on this one. Not an album I've spun a whole lot, but it's always one of those that's kind of like in my Discogs cart, but seems to stay in my Discogs cart for at the same time. But the band is mixing it up here. Some you got lots of the faster, short songs, but they're good at those. But they also still have the heavy parts interspersed, and they're also good at those. So at the end of the day, while it's not their best album, it is an album I think is still good. It's good enough that I'm seriously thinking about picking up a copy of it. I just haven't pulled the trigger on getting a physical copy yet. But it is also one though that even though it's from that original run by Autopsy, it's the one everybody's like least keen to talk about. Everyone wants to talk about the first two albums, and they want to kind of a shit talk the fourth album because you know, because there's a turd in its mouth. And this one just kind of gets left out of the conversation sometimes. So, yep, I figured we'd bring Acts of the Unspeakable back up here. Weird cover
Mel,
for this one.
Mel, is that The Gathering with Annika on vocals? There's a bunch of videos popping up of her performing with them again this year. They just released 2026 Prog Power lineup. Brainstorm, Crimson Glory, Hammerfall, Nevermore, Evergreen, Sunburst, who are really good. Seven Spires, Roy Khan, Redemption, The Gathering, and Voyager. Man, that's a pretty good lineup. It's pretty good.
There's some names there. The problem with Prog Power lineups is by next Thursday, 3 of those bands will have canceled due to visa issues or work permit issues, or their grandmother will be sick, or they'll be busted for trying to bring raisins, into Greenland and lose their passport. Poor Glenn, he's done that, showcase in Atlanta for ages, and he's brought a ton of great bands to the U.S. for the first and in some cases only time. But man, he has had the worst luck in recent years with bands backing out on him constantly.
Plus, it's getting harder for bands to come into the U.S. So
that's a problem too. But even without that, he just is constantly having to replace bands. I'll be honest, I would not buy a ticket to Prog Power these days because so many of the bands, based on the initial lineup, I should qualify. Like looking at that lineup, you could have Atlantean Codex, Cirith Ungol, Riot, and the Ghost of Ronnie James Dio on that lineup, and I would not give you $5 for a ticket because 3 of those 4 are going to be canceled within the next 2 months.
Well, Dio might not make it.
I don't know. He probably doesn't have a whole lot else booked, so he might be the one that actually comes through. I'm not sure. Yeah, and again, it's not to knock Glenn or anything, but that festival's just gotten such a rough reputation in recent years for so many bands backing out that I don't even know why he bothers trying to put out a lineup this early. It's going to change so radically over the next 6 months that it won't look anything like the lineup that you're buying a ticket for right now. So if you just, are happy going and seeing whoever the hell happens to show up, and he always gets somebody to fill the gaps. It's not like there's going to be an hour with no band on stage. He'll have someone there. If you just, want to go for the ambiance and check out whoever's there, absolutely you should. Because this also might be Glenn's last year. He's been saying for a few years now that he was going to wrap it up after 25 years. And I think next year is 25. So it might be the last Prog Power unless somebody else wants to take the reins from him. But if you're looking at that lineup and be like, oh, I really want to see Crimson Glory and Brainstorm, I cross my fingers and I hope it works out well for you. That those are 2 that don't have to bail out.
That new Crimson Glory singer is pretty good. He does a pretty good job with the midnight stuff.
Yeah. That's another band that just it seems like there's a Crimson Glory reunion going to happen every 18 months, and yet never quite gets off the ground. So even though that's a U.S. band, I don't know how comfortable I'd be with saying yes, they will show up a year from now in Atlanta. Just, again, not trying to scare anybody off the thing, but I think folks, should be aware that you often are not going to see a lot of those bands make it on stage when all is said and done next year.
Well, thanks for the news bit there, Mel. Good to see you.
Yep.
All right. Well, let's talk about some old German thrash. I didn't pull Creator because we talked about Terrible Certainty on the album club. Another one I didn't pull. Mm-hmm. But let's go with the third Tankard album, The Morning After. You know what? This band had their style. They didn't reinvent the wheel. They changed quite a bit from Zombie Attack to Chemical Invasion. They got a lot more complex. They kind of embraced the German thrash style wholeheartedly at that point. Morning After is a pretty solid continuation from Chemical Invasion, which number 2 is my favorite album by them. But this thing, another Harris Johns production, so it's got that really warm, good, solid German thrash metal sound. But they took the Chemical Invasion technical thrash aesthetic and made it a little bit more fun. In fact, you have a song called FUN. Mon Cherie. They just they add a little bit of their humor in with these songs. It isn't laugh out loud type of, funny thrash. It sounds like a Tankard album. It's aggressive. It's very German, speedy. It's just really a good record. And this is sadly the last album that I kind of stopped following them on because their shit just got so hard to find. Alien. I have a burn of Alien. I've got a couple albums here and there that I've acquired over the years, but the one with Mike Tyson on the cover and just all this stuff that it just was like $25-$30 import CDs. Sorry, I got the best they ever were. I'm not going to spend the money for a safe bet, but still, I had other things I had moved on to at that point. So good band though, good album. And George is back.
Yeah, well, I got this box set of Tankard's first 8 albums for $50.
Nice.
But there are those little cheap little
promo sleeves.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
that's still a nice way to
check
them out.
So cool.
Whole bunch. We got DVD on it too, but it's got the Tankard, Two-Face, Stone Cold Stover, all those. Because they're a new band to me, I just bought all at once. So I was like, wow, they're pretty good. I don't know why I missed them all these years, but
they're fun.
Can't get into everything. It's hard to,
It's hard. So many bands.
Yeah. Well, this one I picked. I think you'll be happy. I picked this one, Marty. It's my favorite album by the band, and definitely progressed. All of the first 3 albums were good, but this one's their best one. It's Warning.
There it is.
With Nick Guardian. So,
just talked about it last week or 2 weeks ago. I don't know. Yeah.
It's a fantastic album. Yes, definitely. John Archer's a great singer. I mean, I don't know why Maiden didn't try to go for him when Bruce left. Sounds pretty much like him.
That would have made it interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, guess they didn't want to go for a clone, but it would have. I think it would have worked because he's a great singer. Still sounds good still to this day. So.
I like the Blaze era a little bit, but he wasn't the right choice for Maiden. He just wasn't.
I don't hate the Blaze. I think if you listen to those albums, if they wouldn't have the Maiden name on it, you might feel differently.
Yeah. X Factor I like. I think that's a good record. There's some great songs on that record.
Definitely.
Virtual 11, they kind of not good.
They jumped the virtual shark.
Yeah. Good. Perfect, man. Good pick, Bob. I don't know why I didn't think about that, but yeah. All right. Alan.
Yeah, I didn't pick it because I figured it would be in your stack for sure, Marty. So
I tried to go different stuff. So
that's cool.
Here we are.
That's cool. Yeah, I've tried to a bit as well. And let's do another relatively new one from a band this was their 3rd album. I thought it was their best, and sadly they broke up pretty soon after it came out. This is Travelers, prequel to Madness. Traveler had made a little bit of a name for themselves. Canadian band. They kind of hit at just the right time when interest in all this sort of new wave of traditional heavy metal was really peaking several years ago. And the debut album's good. The second album is also good. It may have been maybe a little too close to the first album. But then I really, really liked Prequel to Madness when it came out last year. They kind of trimmed away the fat a little bit. The songs are a little tighter, a little shorter, so they just hit a little better. And it was a really good album. I noticed it didn't get a ton of love when it came out, which struck me as kind of odd because this was a band that had established a reputation for themselves. It's like this came out early in 2024, got a couple of good reviews, and you just didn't hear anybody talk about it at all. It was on my year-end list, but everyone else was like, oh, yeah, I remember them. And kind of late I think it was late last year, maybe very early this year, the band announced, that's it, we're done. It didn't sound like anything. There was no animosity revealed or anything. It was just like, okay, it's been fun. Thanks for all the fish. See ya. which is kind of a shame. So I felt like they had just actually kind of kicked it up into another gear with this album. So they went out on a high note, but I am sad that they went out. At the same time, they've been doing it for the better part of a decade. It's become a much, much more crowded little subgenre. So many bands, that you have to compete against. That, even the really good bands now, you got to kind of struggle to get yourself recognized, as this album very clearly indicated. If Traveler is having trouble getting eyeballs onto one of their albums, that's telling you something about the overall scene. So if you missed it last year, absolutely go check it out. Really good album by a very good band that sadly is no longer with us. And yes, Simon and I are on the same page with this one, as we are on many things. Marty, over to you. I got to go grab one more. I forgot to.
All right. Third album by supergroup that kind of became its own long-running band would be The Fathomless Mastery by Bloodbath. Yeah, Mike took a break. Peter Tägtgren sang on their second album, what's the name of the second one? Oh God, Resurrection Through Carnage is the first one, right? Hold on. Nightmare Made Flesh. Peter did a great job. I really loved Nightmares Made Flesh. What a great record that is. Michael Ackerfeldt comes back, sings on this one, and basically Bloodbath moved away from being inspired by their home country, the Swedish death metal tone, and kind of embraced an American sound on this one, most notably being Morbid Angel. Very Morbid Angel-y type of slithering type of weird down-tuned riffs, kind of like Trey riffs, basically, Where the Slime Live type stuff. I was really pretty impressed with this when it came out, but over the years it hasn't held up for me as much. I always go back to the earlier things, and the one that came after this with Nick Holmes from Grand Morbid Funeral. I really like that record. I think that one's really good. This is a good record. It just doesn't hold up for me like Nightmares Made Flesh. Much better record. But yeah, Michael sounds sick on here. It's interesting hearing the band try something a bit different. And if you like that Morbid Angel sound here, they do a fairly good job with it. But not my favorite of theirs, but it's still good, solid third album for a band that, I think was kind of a funsies kind of project, evolved into a full band. So very cool. George is up next.
All right, I'm picking an old album from 1975. And when this album came out, most of the fan bases, it pretty much was a new band at the time, but it was scratching their heads at it. Crest of Steele from Rush.
Ah, interesting.
Very odd album from there. People didn't know what the hell to think of what they were doing, because pretty much the album was pretty straightforward. They had great lyrics and stuff, but this was just their little, I guess, into their, what do you call it? Not epic, but their concept kind of feel, which they came more realized with 2112, which was the hit pretty much for them. But this one was a strange one, especially with songs like I Think I'm Going Bald.
Yeah.
Which is actually a dig, was some kind of, they came up with that from touring with Kiss. That's what they came up with, something with Gene or something. That's why they made the song up. I don't know. That's what someone said, but yeah, I like the album. I mean, I understand why people didn't get it at the time, but I guess that it's just not something that you would expect from them. But still a fine album. Not just a favorite from the fans, though, but I think that it's underrated. The rest of the seal, but so. Not too much talked about. They always talk about 2112, of course, moving pictures and the like that, but they never talk about Crystal Steele's kind of just swept under the carpet.
Yeah. I couldn't tell you the last time I listened to that record. I couldn't tell you. Long time.
There you go. See?
Yeah, I never connected with that one, but it definitely, it fits. It makes sense in terms of how they were developing from Fly By Night leading up to 2112. Yeah, I know that was kind of a low point for the band in terms of the album, did not perform well. The tour supporting it didn't perform well. They were really struggling to sell tickets. Yeah, there was apparently, after that, heading back into the studio, they were starting to get some pressure from the label and from management. So it's like, okay, guys, maybe you've had your fun writing, songs about Ayn Rand books. Maybe it's time to, make a hit or something we can sell. And so they came out with, 2112, and the label was like not happy, and management wasn't happy, and it sold like 100,000 copies in a week, and then everybody was happy.
Yeah.
All right, Alan.
All right. Someone mentioned this one in the chat earlier. It's like, oh yeah, I forgot to pull a couple of things off that shelf. Yeah. So I'm going with like the big fancy version of Operation Mindcrime by Queensryche. One of the real standout metal albums of the late 1980s. Queensryche had a great reputation before this, but this was the album that really just, made them mainstream. Obviously, they would have, even bigger success with some of the singles from Empire, but this is the one that made Empire possible. This, had massive appeal, got them a big audience that wasn't necessarily a metal audience, but just the sheer talent level, the crazy, detailed story going on, the big productions with all of it. There were a lot of people that this album just really blew away, and with really good reason. Yeah, it's an album that's held up incredibly well over time. If anything, I enjoy it more and more over time. It hasn't dulled whatsoever. This is just a really wacky version that came out. It's not been that many years ago, but it's got like two separate book things inside the slipcase. And then you have to, each one of these things unfolds. It's pain getting into, but yeah, it's got the original Mindcrime. It's got discs from a couple of different shows on the tour. It's got a disc of the Operation Live Crime release, and then the other one, if I can get to it, yeah, is a just book, lots of liner notes, pictures, stuff like that. So it kind of just a really cool special edition thing that came out. I walked into a local, record store one day, and it was sitting there hovering above the used shelf. They couldn't fit it into the used bin, of course, so they had kind of like put it on a little shelf above the used CD bin. I was just like, what the hell is in that? And, I asked them, they were cool with me opening it up and looking through it all. I'm just like, this is nuts. And they really didn't want that much for it. So I'm just like, what the heck? I'm going to pick it up and take it home with me, because it is a super cool album. Production, just amazing. Jeff Tate, amazing. All the performances on here are just great. If you go back and watch the videos, they look a tad dated. It's very 80s looking, but even on the videos, yeah, just the sound quality, the performances are top notch for sure. It's one of the big defining albums from the late 80s, I think. I'll try to get it all back here in the box while Marty shows us his next pick.
That's the
pretty
trick.
cool.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. All right. That would look great in your living room too, George. Just saying.
I'll tell the wife. Where is she? Hold on.
All right. I figure I picked this one. Kind of a weird choice, because we just talked about his other band's third album here not too long ago, The Foulest Semen of the Tortured Elite. But his band before Runes of Beveras was Naglfar, and this is their third and final album, Virus West. Man, it had been a minute since I spun this. I prefer the album before it. I can't remember the name. It's German, long.
They're not pronounceable by Americans.
So I threw this on when I was picking stuff tonight for this show, and yeah, this is just each of three of their first three albums sound a bit different from each other, but the first track on here, there's like 3 or 4 very long tracks, but this Hellabarn, very long, very kind of a black metal feeling song. And then after that long opening track, you go to Sturm der Catharsis. Nailed it. It starts to feel a bit like Runes of Beveras. Has that weird kind of dark tone in the playing. I know the guy from Ruins basically played drums on this, but I'd be shocked if he didn't do some songwriting, because he took the spirit of Naglfar and kind of ran with it. But yeah, this album I haven't spun in ages, and it was really fun to put it on tonight. But yeah, each album sounds a little bit different, all unique in their own way, and overall the Naglfar sound was very unique anyway. So interesting, very good, holds up really well. And yep, he got a lot more dark and twisted as he progressed with Runes of Beveras. But hearing, the seeds of where he came from makes total sense.
Cool.
All right, George.
All right. This album got me into the band. I heard the one single on at the time, the video for it, and definitely more locked than their first two albums, but Set the World on Fire from Annihilator.
Oh, yeah.
Love to Set the World on Fire song. Definitely more locked. Aaron Randall definitely is a different, more commercial sounding. That's what they're looking for. He's one more commercial sound, make more money, that's what they're all trying to do. Definitely, but still some heavy tracks on here. It's not like it's all like a whippy album at all. I think it's a good album. It's just not as, I guess, thrashy as the first two, but still has some thrashy elements to it. Just it's a well written album. It's like Jeff Ward does everything on here. He's got a full band on the back, but it's just him and Mike Mangini doing it, basically, and the singer. So
I have not heard a single note of that band past their second album. There's a bunch of records, and I see a lot of people in the VC showing them, and I'm like, what am I missing? Am I missing out? I need to do some investigation. I've seen some live stuff, and they sound great. Jeff Waters singing, good.
Yep.
I think I had this one back in the day. I definitely, maybe somebody recorded it. Maybe I had it on tape, but yeah, it has its moments. I know it took a lot of flack because it does sound less thrashy than the ones before it. There's a real pretty ballad on it, George. Is it Phoenix? Something in the title?
Phoenix Rising.
Yeah. It's a nice, metal ballad, but that's also the kind of thing that doesn't necessarily go over well with a crowd wanting Alice in Hell. So they took some flack for that also. But it is a nice ballad if you are okay with ballads.
All right, Alan.
All right. Also from the box set shelf. See, third albums. This one literally says it's the third because it's the Third Storm of Sithrul by Absu. And this is a big vinyl box set from Osmos.
Look at you, the box set collector guy. I didn't know. I never would have guessed.
I have just a few here and there. Yeah, this one was a numbered kind of thing. Again, just a random find at a local record store, and they didn't want too much for it. Always kind of liked this album, although it took me a long time to really get it because it's a very fast, intense record. So
his voice too. He's doing something different, weird with his voice on this one.
Yeah, he really is. You're right. The vocals take some adjusting.
A bit more effeminate. He's singing a bit more effeminate.
It's a really high register that almost does lean. Yeah, a bit effeminate. Maybe it was the kilt doing it. Yeah, nevertheless, it is a cool album once you get the hang of it. I do like it. Always liked the cover. I thought the box set just looked really cool with
very cool.
The foil on the logo and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's a nice box set. It's got the Eyes of Imalda EP with it. Nailed it. But yeah, Absu's another band that it kind of changed sounds a bit from.
Oh, that EP comes in that box.
Yep.
Well, that's cool because that EP rips. That's a good EP. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I think there's a big poster with the cover art for that one in here too. Yeah, I don't know. It's one of these things where everything's spaced out on two different albums. So yeah, that's why it's a fairly big box for one album.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, they crammed a lot into it. So yeah, nice item. My only regret, they had at the same time, they had a very similar box set for the Terra album. I could afford one. I chose this
Terra,
one.
what a fucking ripping
Yeah.
album that is. Wow.
Most people always gravitate towards that album. Yeah, this was my first encounter with Absu, so I've always kind of preferred this one. But so yeah, it's like I cannot get both of these. I just absolutely cannot. The wife will kill me if I spend that much money. So it's like I'll get this one and I'll cross my fingers and hope the other one is still there in a couple of weeks when I get paid. Spoiler alert, it was not still there.
It wasn't meant to be.
Yeah, this is very much Absu, high speed, very very fast. But yeah, the song structures are interesting. You just gotta focus on them to catch on to what's going. So yeah, another fun box set one with that pick.
Really like the Son of Tippereth too. The album comes before that one. That's a really good record too.
That one I haven't heard in ages. That's another one I've been meaning to kind of circle back to because I've heard Barathron lately, the debut, and then this one. But yeah, Tippereth has just not gotten spun in, good Lord, I don't know, 15 years probably.
Yeah, I haven't either, but I really liked it when I was into it for sure.
Yep. We'll check it out. But let's see. After this round, it's getting close. We want to do one round after this, or how are people feeling time-wise?
I can do one more afterwards. George, where you stand?
Yeah, that's fine. Whatever works. That's fine with me.
Okay. So yeah, Marty, finish up this round, and then we'll all go one more time.
Okay. Well, let's see here. Which one am I going to roll with? Yeah. I haven't talked about this one much on the channel, I guess. So, Third Immortal, Battles in the North. This thing, it's pure nostalgia, and
I almost picked that one too.
Right on.
The weird cover now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This thing I paid too much money for import, but that's
Same
why it's
here.
in a bag. But this is Immortal is kind of evolving out of their their debut album, very much Bathory worship. You could hear it big time. Their second album, Pure Holocaust, they went more for speed. Grim on vocals. This one here has got a bat on drums. And the rumor is that they took his drum performance and sped up the tape so it sounds even faster. And it kind of does sound like that, to be honest, at times. And the production is super, super clinical sounding, really clean. But the songs on here, a lot of charm. I mean, they really have their own type of sound when it comes to Norwegian black metal. They sounded like Immortal. Speed was king in the Immortal universe, of course. That's why they're speeding up tapes. But yeah, and what the hell is it? What the hell's his name?
Demonez.
Why couldn't I remember that? Very unique guitar player. He had a very strange guitar playing style that it was his own thing. So that really contributed to the uniqueness of Immortal. Of course, Abat's vocals, grim puppet all day long, totally. And I love it. It's fun. It's fast, bit twisted, a little bit of evil in there too. Great third album.
Yeah.
What were you going to say about it, George? Oh, go ahead. You all have it. No, go ahead.
George, you first.
Oh, well, it's to me, see, Immortals are kind of a new band for me. That band album I only had for maybe a couple of years, and definitely the first three albums definitely are some of their best work. I think Blizzard Beats, it gets a little bit not my favorite album from them, but it's definitely a top notch from them. Nothing bad to say about it. I like the album. Just got to get more time with it.
Right on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did the same thing you did, Marty. I had to pay import prices for that. And as I mentioned earlier, if you didn't learn to love the album, that could sour you on an album. The other problem that album had, it picked up some strikes right out of the gate. A, I had to pay a lot to import it. B, the day it took forever to fucking arrive. I mean, I waited weeks and weeks for an East Coast place to ship that CD to me. 3, it arrived on a day when I was like homesick with food poisoning. So like, staggering to the door to, check, the mail. And it's like, oh yeah, package arrived. Can't enjoy that right now because I'm too busy puking my guts out. And 4,
no time for Blasherick.
nope. No. The 4th problem was, I had, read some reviews of the album actually, but when it got reviewed, and even in like some of the promo spots, ads that Osmos had put out for the CD, they had promo artwork that's very different from what you see on the CD. The original artwork was supposed to be this, where it's kind of like a snowy winter scene.
Mm-hmm.
And it has, the band's logo in black, and then Battles of the North down here. So I was expecting the CD inside to look like this. And so, I'm standing there like, it's middle of summer, Texas heat. I'm sweating like a pig while, ejecting everything I've eaten for the past, 12 hours. And I open up the envelope that I've been waiting for months, that I paid like $25 for. And this white CD with these 2 goofy looking guys kneeling in the snow are on the cover. I thought they had sent me the wrong damn album. And so I keep looking. I'm just like, is this what I ordered? Now, excuse me while I go crawl back to the toilet. And is this really what I ordered? This doesn't look right at all. So yeah, the album had an uphill battle from there to get over with me. But yeah, they later on reissued it with the actual promo cover artwork. When I saw this, I'm like, you know what? If I'm ever going to own a copy, I'm getting it with the right damn cover. I got rid of the old import I had, and I got that instead.
It's funny, Alan, because when I ordered this myself, I was expecting the white cover, and I got this, and I'm like, what is this? Because you can't read the song titles. You can't read the song titles.
Yeah,
right now, I'm like, I had to get a flashlight to look.
Yeah, it is annoying. They should have. It's kind of cool that they're in the black, but you can't read it worth crap. So yeah, they should have done something about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we both got weirdly surprised with that package.
Really.
All right, George, you're back. Last
round.
Last
one.
Yep.
Last one. Okay. This might be an unpopular one for this band because people like the real singer for the band. This is actually my favorite album, and it's self-titled from Asphyx.
Mm-hmm.
Very different type of vocal than what's his name? Who's
Van Drunen.
That's it. Yeah. I don't know. It's more harsher. I don't know why I like the album so much, but I like this one
very
so much
doomy record. That's a very doomy record.
Yes, that is exactly it. Very doomy, but not as fast. Not the other albums are bad, but this one I like out of all of them that I have. Just has a different feel to it.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely not like the same as, especially not the, it doesn't sound like the Rack at all or Last One on Earth or whatever came after it. But I thought it's still a good album. Still my favorite one I go back to quite often.
Really? See, I haven't spun that one in ages. I need to revisit. 100 years since I spun that record.
Same here. Yeah, and Asphyx is a band I've been slowly working back through their catalog, and most of it's quite good. They're a very consistent band.
All right, Alan.
All right. Last one. Kind of surprised this one did not come up, so we'll make sure it gets included. Sepultura, Beneath the Remains. Folks know this album. Don't need to talk about it much, but yeah, it really, obviously there was some buzz about the band, but this one helped them break out worldwide more so. The previous albums have been a little hard maybe to get in some territories, but this one, really introduced Sepultura to the world. And this album also, of course, helped establish, the career and the legend of Scott Burns. He helped them get, a really good sound on this album, something they'd been lacking before, maybe. And the story of him having, to fly to Brazil to record this on, kind of a shoestring budget and working, under, tough conditions, but obviously, coming out with, a really, really good master for the band is, part of, early, death thrash metal legendary for sure. So yeah, cool album. I've got a couple of different versions of this one, so I just pulled this one. This was the one I pulled off the shelf. It's this pressing for anyone that's wondering.
That's the OG pressing for $6.
Yeah, it was an OG pressing I picked up at a record show for $6.
Wow.
Yep.
I didn't know what they had. Yeah.
Every now and then you can still find some good deals out there.
Yep.
But it's kind of a good example of a third album that really did help a band start to break out and really see them tighten up their sound a lot. Beneath the Remains is a good example there. So I'll close with that one, and we'll let Marty
get Road Racer Records, right?
Road Racer. Yep.
It's the one I have too.
Yep. OG.
Yep.
How about that? I have an OG copy of something.
Yep.
All right. Kind of surprised Alan didn't show this one, but we're going to go here. I haven't spun this album in a while. I remember it being another one of those that kind of threw me for a loop, but I ended up really liking it. And that The Fourth Dimension by Hypocrisy.
Well, see, it's the fourth, so you can't show it on the show about the third.
See that loophole isn't working here, sir. I double checked. I double checked to make sure
the numbers don't add up.
But very much a transitional record for Hypocrisy. They come out of the U.S. kind of sounding death metal brutality, and this album is a much darker. There's some keyboards on here, and the album just kind of lopes along at a slow, kind of mournful pace, and it picks up speed here and there on several tracks, but it is an indication that Peter had an intention of changing things. Obviously, Mateus, was that his name? The singer that sang on the first two records. He's out of the band. He went to join Dark Funeral, and Peter takes over the vocal performances from here on out with Hypocrisy, which turned out to be a good choice. He's got a good diverse range in his screaming style, and he can kind of sing too. So yeah, this was a sign of things to come. I think the one that came after it, Abducted, is still my favorite Hypocrisy album, but
fair. Yep.
This here was a very interesting turn of events, we'll say. What would you say about this one, Alan?
It's a cool album. I think the best moments on that album are the slower, heavier moments.
Yeah.
The slow tracks on that album are just really menacingly dark, crushingly dark, like doom metal, heavy, scary stuff. The faster tracks are okay, but yeah, they really shine on those slow ones.
Yep. So that's it. We made it through. Not too many overlaps, too. I'm kind of surprised. I figured there'd be a lot more. There was a few, but
oh yeah,
George,
there's always gonna be a few, but yeah. So there's so much ground to cover. It was a really fun topic, and it did let us, pick some different, unusual things. So awesome topic, George. Thank you.
Thank you, George. Yeah, it was great having you on. Thanks for joining us.
I appreciate you having me on.
Oh,
so
yeah.
if you do an album of fourth albums, you can pick the Fourth Crusade by Bathory because it fits the four.
Yeah, right there, it would be number one on the list. Wait, no, actually, I guess it'd be number 4 on the list.
So, folks who are not familiar with George's channel, George G's Room of Rock, link in the description. He also guest appears on the Metal Roundtable on Tuesday nights. Scott Waters is kind of is a big part of that now, and definitely go check it out.
Yep.
And
check out his buddy's show, was it GTR?
GTR Rock Realm. Yep. Every Sunday night at 7:30.
Yep.
Right on.
Keep an eye out for that one too.
You have anything coming up on the channel you want to plug before we jump, George?
Well, tomorrow I'll be doing since it's my 3rd anniversary, I'm doing a segment on what bands will carry the flag for metal in the future.
Oh, nice.
Excellent. Fun. That's a tough. That's
it could be wide open to anybody to pick. So I pick certain bands. Yeah, for certain genres. So
right on.
So all these bands are kind of like leaving us a little at a time. whether they're retiring or obviously or passing away. It's just unfortunately how it happens.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the professor has Let's Talk Metal, and every Tuesday he's uploading new content. What's going on Tuesday? You have it planned out already?
Oh, I've got 2 or 3 videos. So I'll have to pick one. But yeah, this week, folks have been chatting about what was the last truly great thrash metal record from that original era of thrash. Trying to pin down some contenders. It was an interesting question someone else had brought up the previous week in the comments on that video. And I thought it was really interesting. We had, replied to each other a couple of times like, this deserves a video of itself. I'll throw a few names into the ring, but I was just really interested to see what other folks came up with. And so, yeah, it's been a really cool discussion, and thanks to everybody who has watched that and left a comment on it. It's interesting because people always focus on like, what is the first? What's the first this? What's the first that?
Yeah.
But with thrash metal, there was a point there where it's kind of like, for a couple of years, thrash was not a thing. Obviously by the late 90s, thrash was coming back around a bit. You had all these retro thrash movements. But it's kind of safe to say that somewhere in the mid 90s, thrash was temporarily extinct. And so, yeah, we've been kind of focusing on what was the last, and not just good thrash metal, but the last real absolute gem of a thrash record from 93-ish. Maybe 92, maybe something eked out in 94. It's been a cool conversation.
That's cool. Yeah, for sure. And as far as show notes go here, I think Monday I will have a review up myself doing the new Primal Fear. I would have liked to have got that done a little sooner, but hey, that's the way it goes. Procrastination is the mother of invention. Wednesday, Album Club, we're talking about Curse and Chapter, second album by Hell.
Oh, cool.
And folks, if you're new here, help us out. Subscribe. We're trying to hit that 7,000 mark. We're real close. We're about 100 away. So if you're new, you plan on sticking around, subscribe, help us get there. And Discord server, links in the description there. We have a great community, over 200 people in there now. If you like the chat, it's people in the chat talking about metal all week long. They're a busy bunch in there and sharing a lot of killer albums and a lot of killer music and ideas. So go check out the Discord server. And that's it. George, don't hang up. We're going to chit chat for a minute. And everybody, thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week. Have a great weekend.